it's always, you know, wondering how they will show up here today.
All right, let's see which maps we're going to be playing on very quickly. Our lobby is ready, so we're going to toss it ASAP. So quick words on the maps we've got. And it's MnM going for Cafe Dostoevsky first, Gamma picking Consulate, and our decider will be on Theme Park. Maybe we'll get a map 3 today. Ooh. Who knows? Now, very quickly, Cafe Dostoevsky, how would this go as an MnM pick, Des?
I'm looking across the whole series and just thinking, damn, this is actually pretty nuts. Like, Cafe is one of those maps that, given how we've seen a bit of flip-flopping from a number of teams, there's a lot of ex-crazy members here on MnM, and I think they were one of the best teams on Cafe back in the last Challenger League season. This could be a really good map for them, actually. I'm very optimistic.
I think you forgot the 7-1 there.
Hey, look, we write off single results, okay? It's okay. We forget the single results.
It was on Wednesday. That wasn't too good. So they said themselves, I don't know what Cafe is, and it definitely showed in that matchup. So let's hope that they managed to learn in these last couple of days, because otherwise this first map not looking pretty.
Yeah, let's see how it goes. Des, Hap, thank you so much for your detailed analysis and information, even the little time we got. Let's toss it over, though, to our casters. Why don't we? Geo and Fluke. Some may call them a name that I will not say myself. It'll be up to them to say it out there. All yours for a second matchup today. Who makes it to the grand final of AUCL?
Hey, what's up? No idea what Milo's just talking about.
No, I was just thinking. I'm not sure what he's referencing.
You know, nothing that recalls the mind from the charity tournament we did over the weekend, but with the big energy that we're going to take into this game, I'm very excited to see the strength of the bones and the calcium that is presented before us. Geo, MnM versus Gamma Gaming. Now, the pair of us do hail from the region of Britannia, so we have familiarities with MnM, but what are you looking to take out of this game?
Hopefully someone's going to win at some point, and we'll figure out. I honestly, you and Des have really been on the, you know, the UK massive train, and yes, I am also a UKer, but I'm far less biased than either of you are. I think that there's great stories to be had either way. With MnM, you have the whole story of they kind of are the underdogs compared to their forefathers in Na'Vi, who formerly represented the MnM banner, and they haven't fully been able to make it quite as far as they have just yet. But with Gamma, who so narrowly missed out on their opportunity to make it to EUL back in Challenger League Season 11, this is their opportunity for the anime redemption arc. So both of these teams have so much that they can pick up and take forward where they've previously dropped it in the past.
Well, there's a lot of comments already about our man Sternab inside the game chat. Obviously,
well, of course.
He's a meme machine. And obviously, when you're looking at Gamma and you're looking at a team that's led by him, how has he nearly got 10k on Twitter? Ask Dat. Sternab, get your Twitter out. He'll get this. He'll get this in 3 minutes. But for now, what we have here is a Sophia ban on Cafe, and that is going to be something that really can limit the attackers. Obviously, you're looking at off the beaten path. You're looking at when things have gone wrong for these teams, and MnM playing these bans like Sophia is something that has really shook their opponents sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, Sophia ban is definitely one that you don't always expect to come out, especially as she's just so integral to the current meta, where you need to be clearing out a lot of utility before you have the opportunity to move on forward. And I am really interested to see how that's going to affect MnM as they do start on the attack, given that it was their own ban. But when we look back to their kind of weakest map that they had against Machko earlier in the quarterfinals, it was the attack on Clubhouse where they supremely struggled.
Now then, Gamma, you are the only remaining hope, obviously, for your group after the rest of them kind of got pushed aside by the powers of Group B, but you still have the potential of finding your way all the way through to the top. Every opponent in front of you is just another day at the office, and this time it's starting on Cafe Dostoevsky. Now, MnM, as I said before, you limited yourself with a Sophia takeaway. You're expecting a lot of shields and a lot of potential. Obviously, Goyo is on the board, and he does get quite a big extension in play for some teams across the top floor. But hey, who's that? Oh, wow, it's Leonsky on a Frost.
We've seen a decent amount of Frost of late.
Especially from them.
It's always good to see someone get caught out in a Frost map. But, you know, people like the weapon. They like the fact that she can bring a shield and she can be incredibly useful in this kind of current meta that has been evolving. So it's definitely nice to see some of that, a bit of spice coming along. Meanwhile, on the side of MnM, they also had a 6 pick for themselves. They switched off of the IQ, not going to be looking out for the cameras that could be brought by Deepek particularly, but instead opting for the Kali.
Nath telling them to get off Frost, and well, I guess they're just trying to offer them some support, and that's a very good thing to draw attention to their easy. They are currently having a little bit of an opening there across the bakery wall. It's not reinforced as of yet, not opened as of yet, just a single mute jammer is all that is holding that bastion down. Still getting their reinforcements quite late onto that door. Is Panic's going to put the other one onto Smakery? Yes, he is. A little bit late in the game, and if that was caught by a Kali pre-firing through a door, that could have been a bit problematic, but they do get it done in time. Deepek on the roam on the second story is looking to try and get some mobility and control here. Valkyrie, a powerful operator, a C4 kind of wasted there. Not sure what the intel led to that decision was, but unfortunately it was a little bit out of date.
Yeah, quite early. I guess just hoping that someone was going down towards the garage, but regardless, there isn't. And in the meantime, MnM are going to be thoroughly droning out that middle floor. They know that there's going to be the roamers there, and that was something that I think they struggled somewhat with when going up against Matchco. You'd find that they would do a drone. They'd find maybe 1, maybe 2 roamers, but not necessarily act on that information to quite the extent that they should. And you can see where Fonkers is currently positioned. He's looking like he's getting ready to do that, and it's actually going to be Astro, the first to fall, but that is another one of those roamers in the Jaeger that you want to be looking for.
Users, a player who hasn't really been able to have the biggest showing, but has so much potential. We've seen them do bits in the UK season and a lot of UK teams, and here they kind of stepped up and stepped in after Blur disappeared. Deepek swings onto a doorway, but nobody truly suffers. However, this pinch and this concern, well, without a C4, it's a very tough fight to take. Drones 2, everything is steadily closing down around the man inside the library. They're looking for his toes. They can't quite get the angle, and he's buying time, sure, but at this point, well, there it is. It was only a matter of time before he got locked down from the pinch pressure on the opposite side.
Yeah, I was thinking at that point he might actually have the opportunity to reload, given that so much time was being wasted, but he was utterly caught between those crossfires, and that was a nice maneuver from MnM to just ensure that he was gotten rid of, and they didn't waste any time or resources in doing so. But Fonkers being the next one to fall, that's pretty bad casualty there for MnM, as he was the player who got that monumental ace in the quarterfinals, and now Panics is going to be panicking that he gets the first kill. Can he secure a second?
Swinging the fight around pillars. There's a C4 thrown, blown and missed as it catches on the chandelier in the sky, and unfortunately the light is out now. Pinched from behind. Yonka is able to put some damage back in. One of those core of the X-Crazy roster that was spoken about on the desk, and one of those ones that's been a gun firing for this team and on this cafe for a very long period of time. 20 seconds though, you've still got some Banshees and a lot of walls left to go through, and Leonsky causing some concern here with the potential catch of this swing in this entrance. There's the miss, there's the blow on the hatch, there's a Vish inside the site as well. Suddenly Usus is the only one left, tries to swing to get some control and anything back in. Can't see the man that's dug around the back of the kitchenware, and well, now with the plant going down, the calls are there, and there's the kill. The first round started not well for Gamma, but definitely round up into a more delicious meal of this kitchen.
I think it's certainly interesting because MnM are a team that aren't necessarily known for their objective play, and yet they knew in that round that they would have to go for the plant. The reason being they committed so much time and resources to clearing out those members of Gamma who were in the upper floors that they knew that by the time that they had to enter into the site, there wasn't a ton of time left. That meant that they hadn't had the opportunity to clear out VIP. They had to drop in and go for the plant because the chances of them going in for all the kills and making it work for themselves probably wasn't super likely. And so that's what they did. They dropped down from the fireplace hatch. They got rid of the Banshee. They knew that there was that player still there in VIP. He caught them out. You've got to try and go in for the plant, especially when it's just users alone at the end. It didn't work out. It was a gamble to invest so much in clearing out above. And while it looked like it was going well and it was methodical, it wasn't a gamble that paid off in the end.
Now, for one last time, I'm just going to quickly mention the bans again, and I think this is something that we've always got to take into consideration there, and how it's going to play into the MnM attack, because Wamai is a familiar ban on the defense. It's not the most out there decision for a team to remove here, and everybody's kind of used to playing it. So Gamma have a little bit more, I would say, on their potential use of utility on their defense, and as put before, they're a very good strategy team. They're a very good utility team, apart from a certain hold that they did the other day on this very site, on this very map, that we're not going to talk about, it was talked about enough, and Sternup took the blame down in kitchen, but hey, obviously they've developed something else there, and they decided to try and run it as the first thing. They realized they should probably put a couple more hard walls down, and surprise, it worked.
Unprecedented ideas.
Unbelievable scenes. And now we're looking at, obviously, a top floor push. We're looking at a place where Zafir is very common to try and get control of Pixel, to try and obviously put some damage down towards that entire angle hold. You've obviously got a mess of barbed wires, and Malusi is probably going to be a consistent on the board right now, too. So I guess I'm curious to see how they divvy up their explosives, because the hefty lances in the hands of Naif could also be caught very well. We've seen multiple shields caught from those before.
Yeah, this is also kind of interesting because a lot of teams these days will open up either the washroom wall and have a shield behind it, or at the very least the backstore wall and have a shield behind that as well. They've left one of the backstore walls soft, I believe, but they haven't actually opened them up, which means they won't have those direct lines of sight into Piano, which is where MnM are kind of wandering around. Okay, they actually haven't left it, they just reinforced it on the other side. So it's all completely closed. You do have the line of sight through where you can see the through into the default plant spot, as you can see just there. They've left that open. But Avish is already backing off of the Pixel spot as the shield goes down. And that means that that control in this part of the map over towards Piano has been utterly brought away from Gamma.
A little bit of a slow and steady. Deepek's underneath and has the potential for a pretty big C4. They don't have the angle hole open on the door of Cigar, so they can't try and loop and catch anybody that's inside there. But if the floor here gets a little bit spicy, the hatch is there to alleviate some potential pressure. And I guess they're concerned about a clear here, but MnM, they're slow and steady on the top floor. They're making sure that they have their eyes and angles and ideas done from that side first, and Naif could suffer if the call comes out on the intel from the camera. You can see Deepek as being quite aware of the games being played above him, and I'm not sure if Usus is going to start attempting to slam some holes down and get the cover there, or they're just going to play the floor as lava and not get close.
Well, they're going to be trying to open up those walls into the backstore, and Deepek's going to move into pillars instead of using the C4 just yet. They should be able to get these open, as they did use the Kali Lance to ensure that there was nothing present on the walls, and once again, that's pushed Gamma back somewhat. Leonsky is still present in the washroom, and Panix has retreated into Freezer, but MnM still hold on very much to Piano, knowing that those air jabs are protecting them.
Wow.
Ooh, nice nade.
By Panix. Taken out of the equation, deep in the center, and couldn't even blink before being taken over. Here comes the utility push as they smoke off all of the possible angles. There's still worries of C4 underneath, and there it is. Yonka goes down, but Nath battles back. Inside the hole already open, 2 kills rewarded from the Ace Selma hole before. Now, though, the big firefight across the long desk only gets one of the 2, and the other one's got the diffuser, unfortunately, so we're in a post-plant situation for the first time today. Goodbye, Naif, as he's tucked away and put in the back pocket of that close quarters firefight. Leonsky decides to find one more, locking him off with the SMG. This is the concern, though. Funkers on the top floor cover, has the skylight, has the ability to try and apply the pressure here. It isn't the hardest in the world to catch. They're aware of it, and there it goes. Deepek is able to lean across the top, and there, 2 rounds in a row for Gamma.
Making it look very clean there, just perfectly ready and poised to spring out in the post-plant scenario. You had, oh man, who was it who was on the mute? Was it Panix? It was somebody who was just dancing around in the backstore, just ready as the attackers moved into bar, despite the fact that you have the smokes to try and obscure the plant and help yourselves out. It was Leonsky, okay.
Panix went off first.
I am, notoriously bad at immediately forgetting who was playing which operator.
I'm notoriously bad at cooking. That's just a general thing.
Are we just going to list everything that we're notoriously bad at?
I put up a photo of my
I don't think we have time.
The other day, and my diet was very critically insulted.
Was it like a student diet?
Oh, entirely. It is not a healthy lifestyle.
You're like 28.
Yeah, it's not a healthy lifestyle I lead. But hey, I'm still here for now. And you know what isn't here for now? MnM being able to hold that post plant. Funkers. Hey, let's highlight a player who was unbelievable on the previous play day, was really showing up, and for a lot of people, for a lot of viewers and for a lot of fans, it was kind of the first time that we started to see Funkers be truly bonkers. He has those little bonkers moments. He has big clutches. The man seemingly pulls them out of thin air. Hey, what's the saying? Oh yeah, if you want to win, get a fin, and he lives by that, usually. But recently he hasn't quite been able to find his way truly into this roster. An MnM roster that was once upon a time the groundlings and the foundlings of a man who went on to decimate with Team Secret. And, well, it was the first flavor country trip we took the other day, and we started to see it really come together. And that included, as you said before, big ace clutches. And I guess, for me, I'm curious to see if we start to see the potential of another Bonkers day, because if he can build upon that momentum, if they can take this, they can then look at having such a high-power player just gunning.
I mean, it was great. It was so much fun to watch. And the other thing was that Matchco specifically were ensuring that they were targeting Nafe, who also does a pretty good job at fragging, even when he's playing on a support role. So when you're losing one of those key fraggers, falling back on someone like Bonkers, who you know can always pick up. What is happening here? Okay, Astro goes in for the 2K, makes that a 3K. Did he get it? Oh, he managed to in the end, but he should not have been allowed that.
That is just a very big misplay there. You look at what's been taken out. Obviously, it's 3 operators. Obviously, it's your hard destruction, and also your frag grenades, and also your Ash as well, without a Zafir on the board, and they're still suffering on that staircase. And it's just a complete misdrone and misplay. The kit is down at the top of the stairs. 2, they are completely in bits, MnM here. And if anything, it gives me a little bit of an impression of the game that we just had. One team has come into this full guns blazing, full pace. And so far, unfortunately, it doesn't look like it's MnM.
Now the 2 remaining players that we have here are those 2 that we were talking about at the start of the round. You can rely on them to gun, but when it's just them against a full squad of Gamma, how much is that going to be able to help them? They're just going to have to move on forward at some point, and there's still so much utility standing. That's another concern that you have to be aware of. Things look hard here for MnM.
Flashes start to pop over the shield. They're trying to push, but they also misplay their utility there and suffer at their own hands. Baited and blown by the smoke and the shield and all the guns underneath, put Nafe at a sliver of health, and this round is just steadily becoming more and more of a write-off. Okay, not the best use of utility, but with how well it's been going so far and how misplayed it's been in the hands of MnM, well, you don't really have to have it locked off so solidly. They're concerned as they try and creep round Zulu and look to see if they can find anybody else playing on the white stairs and catch them being a little bit too arrogant, and there goes Panics, the first off the board, sure, but it's in a round where you have 25 seconds and, oh, so much left to do. Bonkers finds one more against Deepek, who swings wide, but with Leonsky locking down Nafe on the second story, it's all down to the Finn.
All on his own with about 10 seconds remaining. He's just got to try and peek round into the site, but he can sense the gunfire, he can hear it, he can feel it. And Avish ensures that Bonkers is put into the ground to finally finish what was a really quite difficult round for MnM.
Hopefully it's a wake-up call, is all I'll say from that kind of point of view. If you're looking at this as an MnM fan, you know what they're capable of. Also, if you're looking at this as an MnM fan, what happened on Monday, or what happened on the last playday, Wednesday, they started their worst. Their clubhouse was some of the worst clubhouse they've ever played. It was their first game of the night. They only really picked up when they had a little bit of a kind of moment to breathe at the end of the map, and then from then on they started to become more and more of the team we know, but it started off horribly. And the thing is, Gamma as a team, they know how to punish that. They know how to close down on that. And if they keep pushing and keep applying pressure, it's going to take more than a heck of a break and a moment and a team talk from the captain to pull you back into that game. Did they just destroy that mute jammer?
I did not see. I was looking at my notes.
Ah. Yes, they did.
Oh, apparently they did.
Thank you, voice in my head. Yeah, not a... I mean... Utility's been a little bit slippy, I think, is a little bit of Butterfingers.
I would be nervous. I would have Butterfingers if I knew that I was getting to the point where I'm facing off to go into the grand finals, face against, we know who the opponent are going to be now, it's going to be Kovana, and this could be your chance to get into EUL for the next year. The next year, this is your chance. I would be nervous too. Out goes the C4 from Deepek. It narrowly misses Nafe. Once again, not going to work, but the black eye still stands.
Well, there's the camera popped and pinged, and Deepek. I think one of the things that we saw last time we were here was the man was under intense pressure, and a C4 would have been good to have in the pocket, but unfortunately he's gone for the double swing, and neither has been truly rewarded, as it otherwise could have been. But hey, better round than last time. MnM, you're not all dead. yet. You've been able to get some control into the building, and Astro hasn't been able to kill you. The drones push him further down. He falls back and isn't able to swing round and try and get a little bit of a Hail Mary towards anybody's. Every door seemingly open forces him all the way down. Nowhere was safe for Jaeger, but at the same time, they weren't able to catch him. And that's going to cause problems, especially if Deepak can strike a bit unaware. Oh no. There's another drone. There's another drone. That's a lot of drones just gone.
I was thinking the same thing. I was like, okay, yeah, these players from Gamma are being spotted out, but look how many drones they've taken down in the process. There is only 5 remaining, you know, whether out on the board or in the pockets of the players of MnM, but the point is they have lost a considerable number of them. We are not yet quite at halfway into the round. Now, yeah, Gamma have all moved back towards the site, and that might give them some more prowess and strength in the later stages of the round that MnM know that they struggled with before, given the presence of the player in VIP, who is Leonski on the Frost, and this time MnM won't have the chance to coordinate these ambushes and attacks to the roamers who are upstairs because there aren't any anymore.
Yeah, Gamma played that very well. They sure have been able to waste a little bit more time previously, but they lost their lives here. When we saw the actual collapse come from MnM last time, it just fell to 2 bodies that were split apart, unable to lock it off. There was too much work still left to do for MnM to get these angles. Leonski was buried where he was, and Avaish, I believe, was the one that was dug inside the site as well. So it's just kind of steadying away at this point, and they're leaving themselves with a very short space, a very little window of time to properly implement and close. Okay, we are in that meta. It's a late play meta. It's a late game meta with the amount of utility you got to burn through right now, but not being able to catch the guns of Gamma, who are so talented when they need to swing when the pressure's on, leads to things like this. A quick trade and a quick double is what falls either side, and we find ourselves with Leonski still locked inside VIP. He's waiting for another approach and reproach around the corner, but Nath is otherwise caught by a frost.
No!
Oh no, outskilled is what is put in the chat at this point, but there's Leonski to shut down Fonkers. They finally swing in and get a little bit of control, but now it is only Dats left. The 2 dropped where the frost mat was over the short wall. Dats nowhere to go, and at this point it's just waiting.
Oh, it happened. I love it so much. But yeah, I mean, MnM, they put in so much stock into opening up the vertical angles so that they could try and apply pressure. But in the end, what they ended up doing was just, once again, using the smokes, jumping down the hatch. They got shot down as the trades came back and forth. You know, they DBNO'd Astro. That's great. But yeah, it wasn't enough to finish anything off. Leonski was still standing in the same position that he was untouched last time. And then, of course, with the frost mat as well, it definitely adds a thorn into an already very aching side. Deepak was ready and present on the other side of the map over in Small Bake, so they had presence all around the site, did Gamma, ready to just swarm in as MnM made their approach, because they hadn't been able to apply any particularly successful or effective pressure from those holes that they'd opened up above.
Getting unfortunate flashbacks as an MnM kind of viewer right now to how they were playing before. The inability to lock down that site control and just keep a handle on the game. Gamma, they're firing very well. They're really putting themselves into this so far. They've been able to keep a bit of a cool, calm control. Obviously, Avaish and Leonski are currently flying away in terms of putting bodies down, but at the same time, you've got to look at how their game is being played. Their utility isn't truly being pushed and pressed and tested all the way to the limits. They seemingly always have a little bit extra in their back pocket. It's tough to go up against what they're throwing down right now. The mix of barbed wires and banshees is enough to make anybody scream as much as the aforementioned gadget does. But here in this situation with them still playing with C4s and windows and trying to catch the approaches, Gamma, they're in their element.
Yeah, you can tell that Deepak's just aching to run out. He's not going to do it because he can't see anyone, but he's so ready. He's such a pugnacious player, particularly in this series so far. And we're only 4 rounds in. But you can tell that he's bloodthirsty and he's ready to go for it. Now, last time, they came to this side, MnM were pretty much given piano control for free. Gamma were very happy to relinquish that space, but they swarmed in a post plant. And if you remember correctly, it was Fonkers who was last remaining on the skylight, and he got completely shot down. So I'm interested to see how this is going to go. The hatch is open in piano, which means DPEC could use that for the C4, especially given that they haven't opened up anything in any holes in the floor for him to shoot up through. But Avish has not yet moved back. The shield's still standing while the ADS gets burned out.
Yeah, and it even kind of came down to the wire there, and there's still one ticking away, and we've actually seen them try and reposition. There's the final burn, and there's Avish pulling away from Pixel. Again, the cost of this utility right now for the attacks without Zofia it's pretty high. They got to make sure things count. 2 drones moving either side across the site, dug in on a corner, but they can just pop that through the wall. It gives you a bit of an idea of where they are, but you generally kind of knew that they were around that space too. Still steadily trying to accrue as much info as possible, and DPEC still causing problems underneath. They haven't been able to get the wall unelectrified as they did before, and I'm curious to see if they try and huck a grenade. Panics has opted for a slightly different position. Doesn't want to get caught out in a very close corner as before. There's the pop, there's the ace charges, and there's the force of Leonski further away. Is actually going to just hold the close angle, maybe go for a pretty bold swing here, and to be honest, the surprise plays have been working very well.
Well, now that Nafe has droned him out, they're very aware of where he is, and he's going to go prone instead. Still, once again, trying to play aggressively, just in a position that maybe MnM don't expect. But there's the gunfire. They know the angle, and Leonski, he's quickly downed.
Well, DPEC is still underneath with a C4, and Nafe has no seeming idea. Just takes a bit of a swing in a moment, and, well, doesn't even need it. Avish is able to drop it from deep. The angle he has on the top right corner of your screen is, well, slightly hidden by some explosions and some smoke canisters. All across the board, we find ourselves now moving through a very touchy atmosphere. There is a body still above and a C4 shot out, but you don't need it when you just shoot the man himself. And there's the planter too! And another one is fed to Panics, and Avish shuts off the last with a round where yet again MnM just cannot truly close down Gamma's utility hold.
Oh, I saw them go in for the plant in the less than orthodox position, and I was thinking, this is very out in the open. Yeah, you have smokes, but all it takes is for one player to push on up, and as Gamma have been playing so far, they don't look scared to do that. And evidently, we've seen what happens. MnM just get caught out the second that they are given that opportunity. And now we're on the last round of this half, and MnM are still yet to put any rounds on the board. You know, let's say, just hypothetically, that this does go to a 7-0. This would technically be the second map in a row that Gamma Gaming have done that on, because their coastline map, which was their last one that they played on in their quarterfinal game, they also 7-0'd on that. So this is just, so far, a streak of dominance.
It'd also be the second time we've seen a terrible opening map for MnM across these final playoff games as well. Obviously, MnM ended up being top of the board in terms of their group, but it didn't do much for Winstrike before. And it seems like the slightly lower ranked teams are having a bit of an uprising right now on the days where the play matters the most. Gamma currently potentially eyeing up a perfect split, a perfect defensive half right now, putting themselves only one round away from truly locking off Cafe. And at this point, I would be surprised if we start to see MnM get a true handle on this.
I mean, yeah, you never know. The half can bring about good fortune. MnM, we kind of know at this point, feels significantly stronger on the defense. It's about whether you have the mental fortitude to come back from that, especially knowing how much relies upon this game. The weight of that is also going to be on your shoulders, weighing down your collarbones very much. And that's going to be felt quite a bit. It's palpable and tangible for MnM right now. Wow, I'm turning into you with all these adjectives. So, you know, sometimes casting with you feels like casting with Dr. Seuss, but, you know, regardless, MnM finally jumped in, and it doesn't look like this time they're going to be caught out by a roaming Astro.
Well, now it's just a matter of them all inside the building, but where can you go as you start to drone again? A game that you've been doing pretty steadily and stoically, but you haven't really been able to grow from it. Hey, at least you weren't caught out by a fleeing Astro this time with a quick cheeky triple kill, but even then, you need this round because, okay, 5-1 is still a very tough situation on your defense, but it gives you a buffer. It gives you a breath and a little bit of extra in your tank to take. Otherwise, you're doing the entire dive submerged, and that is in no way easy for any team, regardless of how good you are on your defenses. Deepek is the first to fall. Usus with his third opening kill so far throughout this round, but obviously throughout this half. But obviously, as we've seen on the round counter, it hasn't really led to the best success.
And we know that 3 of the players from Gamma are still upstairs, but Leonski jumping down through the hatch basically signifies what I was going to say is this is where you might start to see the rotate, particularly as MnM move forth into Cocktail, where they'll be wanting to open up the floor somewhat more to be applying the pressure, but right now no one is actually present in reading. We've got Astro all the way downstairs. Looks like Gamma are just setting up to make MnM's life as difficult as possible in ways that potentially they won't expect. There's a drone that'll catch Leonski out, and he's going to have to move.
Throws the C4 and hopes, but another Hail Mary unfortunately leads nowhere. They're still free to pull themselves back, though. No immediate strike back against what they're actually trying to attack here, as Panix is the one that's able to rotate round. Dats is in a position to cover this cohesion between the corridor and the 2 sites so far, with Jonker and Usus just creeping their way all the way through. Panix has to make a move, and I'm not 100% sure what info Dats is waiting for right now, but with Jonker able to try and start sticking the diffuser, it's taken some long arm and some cover. It doesn't quite catch it as Jonker gets the plant down. Second time, we find ourselves truly in a decent post plant without them instantly dying here, and look at this. More bodies being put down by MnM. The trade comes through. Leonski pushes up the corridor and is able to lock off one more, going for a huge rotate around the red stairs towards the white, potentially going to stop off on the second story and make sure that these angles are covered. Avaish underneath trying to find Funkers, but this is Funkers' favourite position. Second story on a post plant. Leonski is really the only possibility of striking back. There's one easily fed. Will the call be there in time? It is. And Funkers gets a double. Now just one more to watch and wait for as the pings come through, but only a couple of seconds left. MnM, congratulations, you've taken 1 round on your attacks. You have a lot of work left to do.
Definitely good for MnM that they finally managed to put something on the board, but I can't help but feel like some of that in that last round was down to Gamma. You know, the fact that Leonski, he went straight in, knowing that Funkers was still upstairs. Oh, it wasn't Leonski, sorry. Because he was going around on the rotate, but despite the fact that Funkers was already upstairs, you said this is his favorite position. You know there's going to be someone watching that plant spot ready should someone go in for the disable. And when they started going around for the wide rotate at the end, I was thinking, okay, they've got a lot of time left, you know, like 30 seconds. They're going to be going on the rotate, clear out those on the attacking team who are above to ensure that there's no one to deny. They have the personnel who can do it, but they didn't wait and coordinate that to be in time, and it meant that MnM had the opportunity to take those kills for themselves at a moment where the rest of Gamma weren't there to either set up crossfires or a refrag potential or anything like that that could have been used to their advantage, and instead Gamma let it slip through their fingers. But you know, they still have 5 rounds. They have 4 rounds on top of MnM. It's not like they're going to be losing much sleep over it, I don't suspect.
Now, if I'm gonna cite previously stated things, it's about the removal of Zephyr and how that's obviously pushed and costed itself into the defense, the heavy utility game and the heavy structural and tactical game that Cafe Dostoevsky offers. It's Gamma's turn to try and step up to the plate and the mantle, for this is what this ban was all about, was forcing them to play a slightly more uncomfortable game on their attack, which is already an uncomfortable game on this map, especially against MnM. So okay, it's a very tough uphill, especially with the pace and panache we've seen played by Gamma so far today, and I'm curious to see if we come down to just full-on aggro gunfire here. Astro's concerned about the possibility of a throw out and a jump out here, but with Dats on the roam and the cameras still all out and waiting, well, no catch as of yet.
Yeah, it's Deepek, third highest rated player in all of Challenger League, who'll probably be feeling the lack of the Zephyr, as she is his most played attacker in Challenger League, or at least here in the Challenger League playoffs. And so instead, he's going to be on Jackal. That will provide Gamma some more information about the location of the players on MnM, and add that to the IQ that you have. It should actually give Gamma quite an opportunity for some cerebral play, some high IQs. out here. But whether or not that will make up for the lack of the Zephyr still remains to be seen. It's definitely going to be hard going against the Clash. I think you mentioned that when you can't use the lifeline to, get rid of the shield or at least force her out the way, that could give Nathan Fonkers here a lot more of an advantage.
Well, Deepek's going to try and pop up, and Clash is already being pushed further back. The cover of Fonkers is there on Pixel. They have it as a bit of a roaming possibility of destruction. The swing-in comes from the Jackal, and that's obviously going to be fed to the waiting, pouncing Jaeger behind, but the concern is obviously the pinch. Panics is on white. We can see Astro inside Cigar too, so they're just going to have to pull back. Panics could move and try and catch somebody here, but with Dats being a little bit creative, this could be a huge strike. If they swing now, that's 1 and then potentially 2 on Fonkers if timed well. Well, Fonkers unfortunately pushes first, takes care of Astro, and that's obviously the Ash gone. That is your explosive charges gone, and it still seems like they're not fully aware. And there's the strike. Val caught and turned, but isn't caught well enough. Panics gets 1. They're concerned about the jump out from the opposite sides. That was finally a kill locked off, and Clash now paying full heed and attention towards those windows.
Well, it's great that Panics managed to get the kill because it was definitely a spur-of-the-moment decision. It definitely felt like, or at least one that he'd been waiting on and knew that there was only such a small moment or window of opportunity. And you can see that MnM are moving further back as Nath is not too far from Jonker, who will be losing some of that protection as the ADSs get burned out. In comes a nade, but it's far enough away that he won't be hurt too much, but you can tell that Gamma know exactly his location as he gets pinged out.
Swing and a rotate round. Lisa success there. The C4 kills Nath. Not 100% sure what happened there, and neither is Nath. As they're just looking at this moment, maybe you just wanted to mess up your IGL stats, users. But either way, MnM, they take a round with the lock-off that they desperately needed. That's another. They've doubled their tally so far, and, well, that's still, unfortunately, the distance they are between losing this map too. We cannot forget how close Gamma are, and it's only really looking at off-sites that we're going to start to potentially see big problems. Bar is, for a lot of teams and a lot of causes, a good place to go, where everybody knows your name, and everybody especially knows Goyo's name. A very familiar face who, as I said earlier on, you're probably going to see Carly brought to try and balance back against those shields, because she might be able to pop it. Oh, wait, what's that? Hey, Valkyrie.
Yeah, Goyo, he's a regular here at Cafe Dostoevsky, but not today, apparently. Changed his mind. It's because of Lockdown 2.0, I suspect. He doesn't want to go out.
He's quarantining.
Yeah.
He wants to go back to lands and majors, you know?
I was going to say the same thing. Like, he really wants to... He wants to go to lands next year, so he's being a stand-up citizen. Me too. Well, anyway, the point is he's not going to be here. He was an operator that we did see get utilized by Gamma when they were on the defense, if you remember that fun old half. Well, MnM remember that fun old half. And actually, interestingly, Dats hasn't brought the C4 like we saw Deepek doing when he was playing Valkyrie. He's brought the shield instead. And that means there's going to be 2 on the side of MnM. We'll see where they get placed, I guess. I mean, most likely one of them is going to be on the pixel angle, but where the second one goes, I guess we'll find out.
To be honest, I kind of understand it with the Zephyr ban. I think it plays really, really well into the possibility of causing problems and destruction with those shields. I think we are in a game and a meta at the minute where the shields are trouble. And that's why it is the constant picking and the pairing of Zephyr and Ash is generally to deal with the shield meta. The big problem that is someone who is a very good gunner can just swing out and pop out of any of those angles at any time. It's like mirror kind of science where you see her, and seeing the mirror window is enough of a deterrent for a lot of teams, because you've either got to cost a drone to go around there and cost the intel, or you just got to try and hope, swing and catch them first before they catch you.
Yeah, I mean, I like what we're seeing Fonkers do here with the shield in freezer and having the wall open. I like to call it like a budget mirror window. Because, you know, you have the protection, you can see, but I guess you don't have enough protection. Leonsky says no, and I was going to say how the presence of that shield means it'd be harder for Gamma to take Piano for free, but maybe not so. Jonker is retaliating, but even so, that's a lot of the Overwatch that you would want in that part of the map being straight up removed.
Wow, a minute 45 and a very early kill and pick there. Jonker's at least able to shut down Panics too. That's Obviously now the Hibana and the IQ gone, so the Valcams are going to be even more problematic than they were before. But hey, there's Yonka, Maestro, Alda, gone off the board. Big gun. We've seen have huge potential already for a lot of these teams across a lot of these maps, but also Cafe Dostoyevsky, the top floor, where it can just brrr all the way across the top and make sure that no one really truly gets entry or purchase here, as they are desperately trying to dig their claws in and find their way through. Vaish swings towards the door, but all of them stacked up in a line where the trench is those shields down the middle.
There's still time. They've still got time to play with. Users is just looking for his opportunity, but he knows if he's too overzealous, he could get caught out here. He doesn't want to overstep his bounds. There goes the frag grenade, but is it going to harm him? Not enough to bring him down, as he only loses a tiny bit of HP, but he's still squished there into the corner of the washroom. That's not too far away, so that he could be there for any kind of refrag potential.
The worry now is this frag grenade bounces around. If it's cooked properly, it could catch users, but it isn't quite dug in. And Deepak is going to have to pull himself away. An unfortunate moment where it could have been a free kill, but Astro is looking for free real estate. Doesn't quite find it. Nafe locks it down, is able to do bits when he's not C4'd by his own team. Now, as Vice tries to fill in the gaps, unfortunately, Usus is still in there and gets the double. The man that tried to frag grenade him, well, he's sick of that game, and he's going to put him down from inside the bathroom. MnM find their second round on their defense, third round in a row, and only the 3 rounds that they've taken so far. But for the first time in a very long time, the gap between them and their opponents is less than the success that they've had so far.
Yeah, I mean, could this be the turning of the fates, or the turning of the tables, or the tables of the turning?
Like
as I always like to say. What?
That's the thing that turns on a table. You know what a lazy Susan is, right?
No.
You don't know what a lazy Susan is?
If I did, I would have said.
It's the big disc thing that you get at like restaurants, and it spins on a table.
Yeah, well, we've been through this. I've never worked in retail or service, so I don't know
That's
these kinds of little snippets of information.
I mean, it's just general intel. It's just general knowledge. I am never putting you on a pub quiz team.
All that semantic knowledge about what turns on tables.
Do you know who I'd want a pub quiz team? Jackie and
who?
Ace. I bet they would smash a pub quiz.
Well, I'm sorry that I'm not Jackie and Ace. I also
None of
believe
us
that.
are, and that's...
I could see that.
Oh, they would
Next time, when you know, next Insomnia.
Yeah, that's it. I need to know what they'd call their team. Because I would join that in a second.
Probably nothing we could say on broadcast. But, you know who is turning on tables, as I originally said? MnM, who have had a decent half so far, despite the fact that we're only 2 rounds in. Gamma don't seem to have looked just yet like they were really that close to taking either of those last 2 rounds.
I think that's it as well, is obviously the big problems that we were going to see were on attack. There was no 2 ways about it, but Gamma were very good on their defense, and you, I guess, trying to translate how that would work when they went onto their attack with the limitations that were put forward and provided by them. Now we're starting to see some of that shake down, and now I guess we're going to see a kitchen hold, something that hasn't always been the best kind of setup and structure for MnM. They're looking at a potential hit and miss possibility here, and I guess it also buys a lot of time for this roam clear. Avaish peppers some bullets to see if anybody is playing on the top of red, but nobody is home. The drone is dancing around the lip to see if there's anybody that is curiously eyeing towards these hatches. There's always a concern of C4, which is why you try to long arm it as best as possible, but it doesn't seem like that is the game that wants to be played. The pings are fervent towards the possibility of someone being on white corridor. It's Fonkas who stepped up, but they're also aware of somebody playing towards red stairs. Dats and Fonkas are looking for a pinch here, but it's a very uncomfortable angle, and they're really just scratching at air right now.
Yeah, they knew that they could get sandwiched in that position, but luckily they've managed to survive it so far as Fonkas scurries downstairs. I was wondering if Deepak's drone was going to be in pursuit, but instead he's just helping Leonsky drone out the very top. Ensure that that's all clear. Remember, this is, of course, a kitchen defense, so they're going to be working their way methodically down. As MnM have gradually made their way back towards the site, Gamma still have to expend this time to ensure that it's safe and they're not going to get late flanked.
Panix keeps a long eye round, and you can hear the air jabs just kind of humming away. Dats dug in a little Harry Potter corner, is waiting to see if anybody swings around, but with Fonkas still causing problems in that bar area, it's just steady push. Same thing that we talked about on Gamma's defense here is they weren't quite being caught. They're buying time and wasting it with their own game. But what I will say is MnM, the angles they're holding are much more aggressive. Oh no!
Oh,
what a situation happened there! Caught the C4 users. Well, that was a moment.
Wow, I mean, that was very close. I was thinking, what even happened there? But so far, everyone remains standing, and they're probably going to feel the sweat dripping down their backs as they continue on with the rest of the round, 30 seconds of which is all that remains. And Gamma are going to have to continue to push down, or they could find themselves in a situation similar to what MnM did on their attack, but there's a C4 to open things up.
Astro goes down, and you lose, obviously, your Ash charges, but at this point, you're just trying to force your way into the site. Nate burning all the canisters under this hatch, which is their only route in right now, and it's going to cause a bit of a suffering as Users is able to get one. Leonski hopped on the cabinet, safe from the smoke, swings around and gets Users too, is caught sleeping. Yonka finds one on Deepak. The trades are coming through, takes back over Sinks and Coffee. And I guess drinks are on them as they find themselves now only one round behind Gamma.
Very, very close to evening things out. And Gamma Gaming, who back when they were Diffuse Kids in the last Challenger League, saw victory, they tasted it, and had it wrenched away from them. And after a very enthralling and enthusiastic and optimistic start to the games today, they're probably starting to reminisce upon that feeling right now as they see what could have been a quick and easy map potentially slip through their fingers. Very close, actually, at the end. Well, was it? I was going to say very close because they nearly got the plant, but obviously there were still members of MnM all around, and it was Yonka to finally clean things up. But a lot of time was spent by Gamma away from the site. You know, that final period of time you can actually jump down, go in for the plant, deal with those who are still on the site. There wasn't very much of that available to Gamma, and they didn't even have to worry about someone being in VIP because there wasn't anyone there. That was something that was different when the coin was flipped in terms of the halves, and yet Gamma still couldn't make it work.
Still seeing a pretty uncharacteristic quiet game from Nate. Was the top echelon player from this roster and pretty frequently the one that everybody could depend upon. Unfortunately, didn't quite show up in the previous day, but luckily Fonkers, well, had the aforementioned bonkers day and was unbelievable, unstoppable. And I can't even remember what he ended up on the plus, but when MnM is making memes saying that it's all because of Fonkers and like 2 players and then using the poo emoji for their own players, an org that is always so loving and so giving, memeing on your own... So wholesome. Memeing on your own players like that, well, I guess it speaks truth. And so far, I think we're seeing, unfortunately, a similar continuation for Nath here. Hasn't quite had the big impact, but I guess it becomes the development and the argument of, well, with Users being able to step up and start to put an even KD down, Fonkers, two players that have been a bit hit and miss throughout the season. You know, does he have to be the one that grabs the lapels of MnM and forces the Molotovs through a little bit more of an extreme circumstance?
Man, Molotovs, is that what the next secondary gadget is in this game?
No, that's what they are. They're marshmallows and Molotovs.
Okay.
MnM.
Oh, is that what it stands for?
Yeah.
Today I learned. Well, I don't know. Either way, that explains the logo.
What?
No,
the marshmallow on fire.
Yeah.
It all makes a little bit of sense now. Yes. That is, obviously, they're a roster that's been around the UK scene for a very long time. You always see them at the LANs.
Yeah.
Manchester and Leicester. Usually. I miss LANs.
Well, you know, MnM do as well, and that's why they're trying to call this back in their favor, so that maybe one day they can go to one representing the European League. As this is what this is for. Gamma really struggled before attacking, or so far have on all 3 rounds that have elapsed, but over half the round has been counted down, and they are still continuing on this way. Last time MnM had a really strong presence up in Cocktail. Now Yonka and Fonkers are still up there. But there are still players downstairs as well. And I think Gamma's timing has been a huge problem for them. And that was very narrowly missed, but Yonka finally finishes it up as Deepak nearly got away with his life.
Yeah, that was like, oh, I'm lucky to survive that. And then just someone else just turns around the corner. It's like, uh-oh. Gets dropped, gets got by the Elder, and now there's only 40 seconds for them to get a hand onto the site itself. Vice swings around, having a fantastic game, but uses blows up Leonsky and takes them out of the equation. Dat suffers a huge amount of damage, but panics, is trying to offer a little bit of support to Akali that's creeping around the stairs. Still has to go and collect a diffuser with only 20 seconds. They seem to have opted for just kills, and now with Panic's gone too, that's all they can really opt for. Mistimed, had the right idea. Unfortunately, was caught by the cruel mistress of timing.
I feel like I always gasp the most when I see a player like un-ADS, when I know that there's someone right there. You know, as an observer, you can see everyone on both sides, and as soon as someone puts their gun away or just looks away for a second and you know that they're gonna get got, those are the moments that always hurt the most. And now, things evened up as far as scoreline goes, and Gamma are suddenly looking at this game and thinking, hold on, what just happened?
Oh, it's gonna be a heck of a desk between Hap and Dez. Whatever the
they're
result
gonna mud wrestle.
Whoa. With Milo set? Okay, maybe. Whatever happens now throughout the rest of this game, obviously you can cite however many things about Cafe being a heavy defender team. You can cite both of these teams being great tactical defensive teams. For me, I know I've said it a few times, chat, but it's such a big tactical game between these guys. I honestly think Zafir being removed has caused and accosted such a big problem, because look at all the timings of the pushes. No team, when they're able to push, has been, I think, above the 30-second mark. All of it has been very low, which is generally seen a lot in the meta. It was the kind of, I would say, the toughest and stickiest point of this meta was a consistency of pushes around that time.
I mean, especially with Sans Zafir right now.
Yeah, that's it. It's we had that at the lowest point, and then people brought Zafir and Ashe as a duo every single time, and that added a little bit of pace back. And you look at pace players across these two teams. You look at people like Usus, you look at people like Nape, who can throw themselves in with quite pacey aggression, obviously, across the board. And Gamma, generally all of them have that. I don't know how Sternab keeps them all within the map for most of the time, but you look at the roster, you look at how it's built here, and I think it's taken both teams back, unfortunately, to a slower, stickier, more muddy meta that they haven't really been able to get a proper handle onto these attacks. Again, really late. The only times we really see it thrown through, you look at dropping into kitchen, it's been heavy guarded, still utility everywhere. You look at the times that they've just charged across the top floor, it's always still utility. They've never had true control of the site. And, well, I think this Zafir ban, it was a bold move, knowing they were starting on their attacks. But if it pays off, it was a, it was a Tom Cruise kind of move.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's exactly what I was thinking is, they took the risk, they went on the attack first, they knew that it was going to hurt them, and they shot themselves in the foot, knowing that they would still be able to run faster when it came to it. And it looks like it is paying off so far. It's hurting Gamma more than it hurt MnM, or at least it will be if the scoreline ends up telling that kind of story, which right now Gamma are at a severe risk of things going that way.
Well, Deepak with the buck is looking to try and skeleton key his way through this top hole. There is a couple of bodies that are just adrift so far. Buck can be a bit of a beast here, and I like the adaptation. For the first time, we're seeing this eastern front. It's not massively and commonly played in terms of the push. It becomes it's a little bit uncomfortable. You don't quite have the angles and the comfort you have on the opposite side, where you have a little bit of a buffer. You obviously have the hatch on top of red stairs. You have the ability to swing around Cigar. You have breathing room. Here, it is all or nothing. Wing or swing or be swung, really. And to be honest, I think this is a right adaptation for Gamma. I think if they can pull some of these firefights, they'll take it just by brute force, which goes against the sticky meta and sticky problems.
Oh, well, they're going to have to be. That's so narrow. Deepak has got just a sliver of health remaining, and Astro taking the position to watch out onto the stairs as he sends in one of the breach charges. But once again, we're finding ourselves in that place where we're narrowing onto the final 30 seconds, and still this final push is yet to be made. Dats is down below. He isn't cleared out. He could still be... Did he bring a shield or did he bring a C4 this time? What is it he's got in... Okay, so there's no C4 that he can be playing down from below, but there's the final kill there onto Deepek. The shotgun manages to get rid of him, and Astro following as well.
Well, now it came down to swing or be swung, but the canisters were there, popping in perfect timing to stop it. There's the last body by the long desk. The bar is closed, at least at this time around. And, well, MnM 5-0 to 6-5. You are really living in UK fashion and EU fashion right now by going for this troublesome reverse sweep. They're opening...
It makes me nervous.
Are you going to say because all chat's open?
No, not because of that. Just makes me nervous how it's like a pendulum, the way the scoreline's going.
Yeah. For me, seeing an all chat open in a UK game is one thing, but also in a Gamma Gaming game when it's clutch point.
Yes. I feel the same way.
It happened to Homeless the other day when they were up against them, and I think Ara said you really got to win those, and things went wrong.
I mean, you do really got to win those.
I guess the lessons are going to be learnt right here. Obviously, it's the first map of 3, but this is MnM's map. So, Gamma, they've obviously put up a great fight, and it's not over yet. We're obviously talking about this because we've seen a fantastic swing back from MnM. They just have to tie one more Kitchen in, and, well, last time we saw Kitchen, again, it was scrappy. Sure, Usus almost catching the approach onto the hatch. Probably not going to be able to play that position again.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen again.
No.
That was an interesting one. But what was also interesting, again, was the fact that it's that same pattern, right? It's the Gamma spent a significant amount of time ensuring that both of those top floors had been cleared. They didn't make it work at the end. They had to jump down. They didn't have the same issue that MnM had on their attack, where there was a player present in VIP. There was not, but there was just too much of a presence that was actually in on the site, and Yonka cleared everything up. Now, okay!
So users found new,
what?
Ash? Halloween's over, Ash. Halloween is over. That's dramatic.
Oh my god, she's been necromanced.
That's like a YouTuber's thumbnail. Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
Wait, someone screenshot it. Someone's going to want to use that.
Fresh positioning we find ourselves in, and users, well, it's rewarded you with the perfect boon. A double C4 kill. You have been consistent with C4. Sometimes we see this as a little bit of a problem on this map, especially as C4s aren't quite hitting the mark for a lot of teams. I think that's his 4th C4 kill across this defensive half, and what a time to pop the dub. You look at who's gone, you've lost Panics on the IQ, so those Vault cams, they're going to be much obviously tougher to dig in on the map that is pretty heavily reliant upon this intel. You've also lost Astro on the Ash. That's so much of this possibility of the range of shields, and the worry of maybe that there. They can't quite blow the Ash charge to be able to dig this. They're going to have to cook a grenade if they want to get rid of this claw, which is going to make things much tougher, much trickier. Going to bounce it along the top, and that'll catch it. But obviously it's a dangerous game and a big waste of such a deadly utility.
Yeah, you still ultimately only got 3 players remaining, and they're once again electrified, so that's another problem. You can't get the Exkyro straight onto the hatch. And Jonka, he's just below as well, so if they do eventually get the opportunity to make that push, well, good luck to you, because you've got a lot of sharks waiting for you down in the pool below. Finally, they're going to begin to get the hatch open with just under a minute remaining. Gamma Gaming have just got to hope they can stay alive enough to even attempt to put up this fight as they move below.
Well, they know Pace has to be the master of their own kind of possibilities and chance and hope here as they swing around and make sure that Sync is clear, the place where they want to dig themselves in to get this diffuser down as they did before, but the concern is Coffee as they pepper bullets towards the chassis and see if they can get the man that's hanging around just beside it. The standard hold here is done around the corner. Deepek wants to open up an angle to make sure he can move through smoothly, but he knows with the risk of timing and the mistress that it is going to make them suffer. As soon as he tries to open it with a skeleton key, he's going to get got. Usus in the meantime finds his 3rd for the round, but Deepek pushes aggro and at least drops Malusi. With only 10 seconds though, it's kind of a little bit of an exit frag. They push their way into sight, and Leonski finds Nath as well, hops over, but unfortunately the round is hopped over too. Well, it was going to be tough to come back from a 5-1, so why not thread 7 rounds in a row?
Oh, just absolutely brutal, and MnM showing that they are still very much in this series after what seemed like a difficult beginnings. Gamma would have been counting their blessings the way that things kicked off at the start, but alas, it didn't work out in their favor. But Fluke, this is a best of 3. We've still got more games to go before we know who's going to be making it into the grand final.
And I think that's the thing about it as well. Obviously, that was MnM's map, and they played their game with the bans. They were in a situation as well where Gamma didn't have great times on that map before, but stepped up. Yeah, okay, it was a sweep, but at the same time, they had to build themselves up into that position. We'll take a quick ad break and see what happened. Des are going to talk about, because it's going to be hilarious after these.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the show. And you know what? Let's just put it out there. You got to be molding after losing 5-0 advantages.
You used the wrong quote. You really got a Windows is the quote here, Milos.
What is it? You got to be...
You really got a Windows. You really got a Windows.
No. They did not win anything. Oh my god, I cannot believe it.
You miss it. You miss it.
From never mind.
Season
Choke
11 when they threw it
over you.
Yeah. Well... I'm getting old, Hap. Okay, you know what?
He wasn't there, Hap. He wasn't there.
What do you mean? It was, I know the joke. I've like said it 17
joke,
times.
But he just doesn't get it now.
It just, I don't know why you would be saying it today.
I like Milos's line of thinking. I like the words like molding, festering.
You gotta be, man.
All these power words that you can use.
Des, you know all about losing.
Oh, hell I do. Imagine having a 5-0 lead and losing 7-5, by the way.
It's nothing uncommon for this team, to be honest.
Okay, Hap, you're going to lose all support for the Benelux region, but go ahead.
I mean, I'm a big fan of these boys, and I really like them, but they often seem to be choking in, like, positions where they shouldn't choke, and that's when we say you really get a Windows. But hey, it is only map 1. It was Cafe that they lost 7-1 the last time around, so there's some improvement there. Not that it matters, because you're still a map behind, but...
First,
still some
we said it started off 5-0, right? So, Hap, can you guide us through what Gamma were doing right on their defense before things went to hell and back?
They were really good at shutting down the after plan of MnM quite quickly, because time and time again they managed to get that plant down, I believe like 3 times in those first 5 rounds. And time again they just managed to respond straight away and shut them down and take the cover up and manage to defuse. Only in the last round they weren't able to shut down the after plan. And sometimes it was with the help of Frost, where the diffuser got stuck in the mat when they really needed to plant. And some other times it was just step on the desk with like 2 people, make sure you're going to be able to take the gunfight on the person's skylight whilst the other diffuser. So they did that really well. But then the attacks were like, where did they start? They had no clue where to go from, where to attack from, and they were being shut down wherever they went, really.
Is this defense side of the map, did it play for both of these teams in this way?
I mean, normally no. Like MnM are a team that with the members they've got, I would regard as a decent attacking team. Like not anything special, but a team that can attack. And yet across the whole map between both of these teams that we've kind of praised for being very strategical in their approach, they only take one attacking win each. Well, not each, sorry. There's one between both teams. That's a problem. And MnM on the attack, I was really confused in the one round when they dropped the smoke inside a bar on the top floor, charging for a plant, and Levi's just jumps over one of the smaller bars and kills 2 people. And I was like, where were the drones for this? There's no mute on side. There's no Mozzie. Like, you must have known he was there. But they don't clear out these crucial members before they were executing. And I was ready to be sat here at, like, a 7-1 loss for MnM and just being like, man, these boys are throwing it away today. It's done. And then it turns out, actually, MnM aren't the greatest throwers in history. Oh, Gamma hat. It was really unlucky, I guess.
Did they do it on purpose? Look, you know what? I'm just sold on this right now. This is the idea I'm going to keep championing today. MnM lost the first 5 rounds on purpose so they could play this comeback just to insult him.
I mean,
somehow no.
I would always say with Gamma, if you throw it in the first map, then at least you have that out of the way and you can go for full force in the next 2. Like,
okay, what's the preparation for next map then? Because okay, we look at the map bands, we can kind of get a clear
Consulate.
idea of where these teams are going for. There you go. Consulate is our next map. We played Cafe first. We're gonna go to Theme Park potentially, perhaps as map 3. This is Gamma's pick. What's their feel going into this from your point of view, Hap, having followed Gamma for the past 5 years?
they have to reset, like, realize that it was, you know, again, a mistake here, an unfortunate series of events on Cafe, like we've had in the last match they had as well. They lost 7-1 there, and they were able to perfectly turn themselves around and follow it up with a 7-0. So if they're going to be able to make that same mental switch happen, they're going to be able to take a win here. So that's something to keep in mind. They have come from worse losses than this, and they were able to turn it around. So they have that mental fortitude. They just need to show it here today as well, and Deepak needs to wake up.
That's one way of putting it. I think for MnM, like, if you're drinking back into Nationals to go and find out when these boys last played this map, is there really much point? Like, probably not. It's a whole different ball game now that we're at this level of play. We did see Gamma win this twice during the group stage against Matchco and Team Fedora, so there's something to going for them there, I think it's fair to say. But I think coming up against MnM, and I know I keep on harking back to the crazy days back when they were, as they were known back in Challenger League Season 11, Consulate was their map. They were one of the best at coordinated assaults coming in towards Yellow Stairs, for example. So I think coming into this, you're going to a map that historically a few of these members are comfortable on. Have they practiced it much lately? We don't know. I don't think this is a particularly weak map for MnM. I think they can take it 2-0 right here.
I wonder what sort of operators then Gamma need to remove. Do you guys know who's starting on which side for this one, by the way? I have not checked.
That's a hard call, actually. I haven't checked the map, Ben.
Yeah.
Admin?
What's that?
Can you let us know, admin, who's starting on which side?
Oh, they sent me the link earlier. We can find it. We can dig. I need to find it before they do. Oh.
MnM defense.
Okay.
Gamma attack. There it is. All right, so MnM on defense. We saw how much of an effect defense has had as a start overall in Challenger League. This is something that changes from region to region and in different tiers of play. So I wonder how it's going to play into this. Do you think we'd see like MnM going away from that top floor defense, just going down to lobby, going down to garage, playing server, maybe something to throw, you know, a wrench into Gamma's preparation?
Quite possibly to kick things off. But I think the biggest thing with this map that I'm not so much concerned about, but I'm wary of, is it is a attacker-friendly map. Like Coastline, there's very, very close proximity to the site. You haven't got to worry about getting caught up in fights all around the map for the most part. It is a direct access to site kind of map, unless you're looking at, say, Teller's Archives. I think it's going to remove the craziness that attackers had on Cafe. You are going to see attacking rounds taken here. And from what I recall of seeing Gamma play on this map, I believe against Matchco is the game that I watched back, they play as a very good cohesive unit on attack. You won't see Astro charging ahead and trying to be troublemaker on Ash. He'll always have drones at his feet. They're always looking to pick off these stragglers on the other side. So this is going to come a bit down more to the gun skill, but also down to whether or not MnM can break apart this cohesive unit of Gamma. That's what I'm quite keen to see when Gamma go on attack. How
cohesive can they be? You need Deepak to push you forward. There's something Gamma have championed as the spearhead of their squad for the past few years. How do you wake Big T up?
Gotta make his, gotta give him some hype, you know. Big ET coming up, or Boom On, as he likes to call himself, as he's wearing like a weird hat right now with like his turtleneck.
What has Anthony done to people in the region?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. Anthony's a bad influence on some of these people, so he better stop what he's doing right now, because otherwise, actually, I blame this loss on Easy because he wanted to make a meme about it, and they lost it because of that. So it's not Anthony this time. It's Stefan who did it to you, Benelux. Make sure that you tell him, because he's letting you all down. Twitter. Yeah.
Would like to remind everybody, by the way, that drops are enabled. Of course, the major was scheduled. Charms. Exactly. The Dutch Tulip is on. It's all about watching as much as possible. You can find all that information on the UB blog, the Rainbow Six blog. But it was all on for the Brazil finals that we had only a few days ago, and over the weekend, and now we're gonna have it on for EU. Basically, so come on in. I see there's 17,000 people that are watching, at least on one part. If you count the total, it's going to be more. But yeah, not too shabby. Tell everybody to come in and watch, because this is not about us. This is about these teams. This is about EU Challenger League, the rising stars of Europe. These people went through to qualify through the Challenger League and Open qualifiers, or they went through their national tournaments, qualified into national tournaments, won their national tournaments to get to where they are today. They can make it into the top 2, and then if they're in the top 2 and you win the whole thing, then you're immediately in the EU League, and if you're in number 2, you get to fight to make it through against Rogue. A lot on the line for a lot of these teams. Happy you talked about the amount of money that's also on the line. This is life-changing for teams, for squads as a whole, but also for individuals. And there's definitely some individuals that shined very brightly throughout the CL season that I hope to see very soon playing in EU League in some way, shape, and form. Very quickly before we toss it into the game, because we have a tiny bit more time left before players all reconnect in, highlight players for this series. I mentioned Deepak, but what else? Who else can we talk about here? Let's start with the MnM very quickly, Des.
Well, for me, Users has been really big in that last game. I think for a player that historically has been slightly quieter than players like Nathan or Fonkas in their last best of 3, seeing him really pull out the guns was pretty big for them. Really happy to see what he was delivering. This next game could be down to him again. It could be down to someone else. It really depends if it's a buy map thing or if it's a buy series thing. We'll find out, but I'm looking towards those 3 names in this next match.
Dan?
Vij has often been considered the second best player in the Benelux, and he really showed up here right now instead of Deepak, so I'm hoping that both of them will be enabled. And otherwise, Panix seems to be doing quite well as well, so I'm hoping that he's going to be able to make a change as well.
All right, that is the perfect moment. All 10 players have just joined. Everything is connected. Our lobby is ready. So why don't we just toss it over to our casters? Map 2, it might just be the last one for this evening. A final one in the semifinals. Who knows? Maybe we'll go to Theme Park. That's what I'm hoping for. Consulate kicks off. It's UK Massive versus Dutch Boys. MnM versus MnM Gaming. Onto our casters. Enjoy.
Welcome back. Welcome. As we head towards our second map, as Milos said, this could be the last of the evening. It's down to Gamma to prove that they can fight against the apparently unwielding, unrelenting might of UK Massive.
Just digging it in there, Infiltrate. Like, just remember that if you go down, it's the British who did it.
I'm just painting a picture. It's my job. Okay. Just painting a scene that currently... Hey, well,
you are the daughter of like 2 artists.
They took out the French. So... A lot of artists, and I cannot draw.
A lot. How many parents do you have?
2.
So when I said you're the daughter of 2 artists,
I can't count very high.
Right. Okay. I see how it is. But yes, we are in our second map, which may end up being the last, depending on the performance of these 2 teams. And to kick things off here in the ban phase, it's going to be Nomad, the first to be going.
Controlling this space is going to be a big problem. It's always the breakdown of obviously Consulate and the aggression that it can offer. Get those bans away from here. Those are the old bans. Unless you're just predicting things, but you're wrong. Thatcher and Nomad are going to be joined. Thank you. I feel bad now. I was like, get away, and they actually did. I'm sorry, production. You guys are great.
Are you talking to production?
Yeah, did you just not see that they flashed up the wrong bands there for a second?
Oh, I did not, in fact, see that.
I'm glad you're watching.
It's because I'm writing down... I'm always writing so much stuff, especially at the start of the game, so... Regardless, Thatcher and Valkyrie joining in the fray. So far, this is pretty standard for what you may expect to see on Consulate. As you alluded to at the beginning, Nomad, you can control the spaces very well, particularly on this map where it's very long and narrow, and it's quite hard to evade those air jabs, which may be in avenues that are particularly poignant and important for when you want to be making rotations. Valkyrie, because this is a map notorious for its jump outs and run outs because of the number of windows. So if you can deny the opportunity to use those cameras outside, that's particularly important. Wamai is obviously a really big popular option right now, as is Thatcher. So all in all, nothing too exciting or spicy in the ban phase.
What we do get that might offer a little bit of spice is Vaish bringing Lion, a big fan of hefty DMRs.
A spice.
a spice we get from Vaish. As Hap said, really obviously lit up before, was a player who was the kind of metal that was otherwise falling to bits around Gamma, and here I guess is going to be the driving force behind that too. Hid the E1Ds and decided to play it with a little bit more surprise. Deepak instantly onto the beloved Zofia, who is allowed through into this game, wasting no time in locking that down.
Yeah, he's like, I'm sorry, my darling, I'll never leave you again.
I'm sorry.
Please don't leave me.
It wasn't me, it was you. No, it was someone else.
Blame the British.
It was the British, the danged British, that stopped Zofia, who is my favourite voice line in the whole game.
Oh no, I hate her. What is it? Hello there, voice line.
See, that's my favourite because she sounds like
hate it.
She sounds like Shrek. If you listen to her, when she shouts, if you ever hear it, if you hear her go, hello there, it just sounds like Shrek.
I hate it. I play Zofia so much, and I honestly kind of want to turn off voice lines just because I hate that line so much.
Well,
but regardless.
You could do what a couple of players do, where they put the Japanese voice lines on, you weeb. Now, as we start to see the approach here across the top floor, they're looking to see if they can get the angles down and connect. The concern of Consulate, if you were to write it down in etched blood, is hop-outs, windows, and, well, the aforementioned troubles that these four sides can offer. The rectangle is the only map that on the top view is completely encompassed in the lockdown from the observers, and it's one of those things where it leads well into aggressive teams. They love to hop in, hop out, as we've already seen, and Dats is able to put some bodies back in. The second E1D goes off, as do a lot of drones, but there's no quick reaction to it. Nafe is the one that suffers, but again, it's all, as I said, external fights. The windows of the first battlefield, and Vaish starts to take one, and Astro suffers here, or makes Dats suffer even.
Yeah, Dats ran straight into that one. Astro could catch another. He does. That's users to go down. And now it's just Yonka remaining. He's going to be experiencing some harm. He gets one kill, but it'll be Panics to finish him off. And what didn't even feel like a fully fleshed out round is over in some time. There was a record compared to what we saw on Cafe.
Yeah, I guess if we're going to look at how things broke down before, well, it was very long. It was very long-winded firefights, and everything burst down in the final 30 seconds. Here, there was only ever really two of the attackers inside the building, full stop, and they won the round with a huge amount of time left. Consulate.
Well, I was just going to be like, you know, once Deepak went down, I was thinking, okay, so the Zophia's gone down. You might find it harder to take meeting. You know, you might have to rely on the Astra if you're going to use nades from the sled. And then as I was thinking it, they're all dead.
Yeah, windows. Hey,
like, they're all dead.
Consulate, stay away from the windows. That's the true Halloween horror story.
It's really hard to do that because there are so many.
Yeah, it's a huge map and a huge problem. That's why you always see Valkyrie banned. Obviously, both teams were very good for using Valkyrie before in Cafe, but also it locks down that control. Now, I'm curious to see the extensions that might get played towards the rest of this map. It becomes a great one for roam possibility too. Talented roamers can really run rings around kind of spacious attackers in this play space. The hatches lead and bleed perfectly throughout each other as you fall all the way to the floor. It allows you to be a little bit aggro, a little bit kind of creative, and a little bit loose with how you want to approach your roam game. And if it is kind of structured and suffered by a decent attack, well, sometimes you'll just fall through a hatch and get instantly caught out. It becomes a little bit of a death drop, but is in no way as stylish.
Yeah, and I mean, speaking of hatches, you can tell that MnM are looking to utilize them for themselves here. They've left the meeting hatch open, so there might be someone upstairs looking to play around there. And they also have, there we go, Dat's upstairs, but he's going to jump down spiral. They also have the hatch here in the public bathroom open as well, so that as soon as Usus needs an out, if he gets found in there, he can just head straight back into the side and not be entombed and trapped within his own death. So it's definitely something that becomes very useful, particularly when defending down here in the basement. Gamma so far are being a lot more slow and cautious on their attack than we saw on the last round.
Yeah, they haven't been able to catch everybody as quickly as they did before, but it's the difference between this beastly bastion on the basement against CEO, which becomes a very aggressive kind of stockholders meeting of who's got stock of blood. Nobody by the 2-minute mark. Now, as we start to see Astro peppering some bullets towards lobby to see if he can catch either the body that is inside the bathroom that is actually, I think, might have just slinked out and got themselves into antechamber. No, they still stay stuck in there. The pings come out from the E1D as Astro creeps in, tries to get whoever might have been in ante and gets stuck on the table, hops around and tries to pop up and down to catch somebody, but 2 kills fall in the way of Gamma, and that lion is going to cause so many problems.
Yeah, it feels that way. Nafe is just tentatively looking up through the ceiling, but Astro's nearing in on Usus. If he catches him out before he has the opportunity to rotate down, that's going to leave the defense of MnM significantly weakened down on the site. But it looks like for now, he's going to be left alone as Gamma start to turn their attention all the way downstairs. That could give Usus some opportunity to potentially get some kind of late flank if he's not caught out.
Really clever timing there as they popped the Ash charge on the back of the wall at the same time as doing the E1D. Sure, Astro took a huge amount of damage, but there was nowhere for the body to go inside the bathroom, and they were very quickly closed down upon. Looking to try and trade back up through the hatch as Nath creeps his way. There's another call, there's another drone, there's another problem, and there's another member of Gamma as they hop over the black car, and now it is just Yonka yet again. The last one standing, but a flawless is all that is standing after that round. Gamma, they ain't messing around.
No, I mean, only so much you can do there if you're MnM and you know that you're significantly weakened and everyone's coming in at you from all sides. And what's nice and encouraging about this is the fact that it was the attack that Gamma struggled on in the last map. And yes, circumstances have changed. This is now Gamma's map. This is where you would expect them to do better. But if MnM have had a track record of not showing up quite as much on their own attacks, then after a weaker defensive half, what expectations do we have for them going into the next? Now, we're still very early in the map, of course, and there's time for things to change, and there's time for our expectations and our ideas and our hopes to be shaped throughout the course of this game. But the point still stands. It's something that's already on my mind.
Well, back down to the basement is the course, and to be honest, although they were looking at a flawless, I think they have the possibility of more control. The E1D has been exceptional, as has Avite. She has had such a kind of tour de force day so far, and yeah, okay, Gamma, they're a map down, but you look at how much anger and how much pace they're putting into these past 2 rounds, they're going to keep trying to step it up. It's also a problem that you learn, though. Dealing with a lion comes with a bit of practice positioning. They know that Usus is probably going to be put under the same pressure they were before, and they know that it's going to be the constant force that they have to shake their way through, and it's a lot easier for teams that are in the know to be able to deal with that when they're on that basement site than when they're on something where there is the competition of those windows that CEO offers and the quick pace and swing possibility of a team like Gamma that is firing on all guns right now. Fonkers is doubling up on the top floor with Yonka not too far away down, and Dats playing by the vending machine, swung to a window, but nobody is watching right now as they still steadily just try and look like they collapse towards admin. Seems to be the potential next step.
I think there's a chance that this could go differently if Fonkers doesn't find himself going down early, because his presence out on the field could be incredibly valuable. He's flirting with the idea of dropping down the hatch, just wants to be sure no one is at the top of Visa stairs just yet as Astro begins to move in. Panic's on the other side of the map too. There's the E1D. It doesn't give away anything, at least not on the top floor, and Fonkers does get stunned out, but he's still holding steady.
Well, they're going for a big rotation now, and that's the thing that we talked about on this map and what it can offer is the ability to move and manipulate play space, head back up and cause problems. Leonski was waiting for the movement down, but Funker says he's not done on the top floor, wants to try and cause more problems and put more pressure. Minute 30 is generally all that's left, and Gamma have only really half-shepherded, with Funker still being a bit of a loose cannon. It's going to cause potential problems later on down the line.
All the players still standing, over half the round down, and it feels like so far every single round here is looking more and more different as Gamma are more methodically pushing their way in. Now, Users is going to be feeling the pressure once again as the wall in Bathroom has been opened, and he's still hanging around, but as the frag and the flash come in, he's actually going to be going for these kills. He gets one, throws out the C4, but he dies for his efforts, and it shouldn't be too hard for Panics to get rezzed.
That's it. More kills, more pulses, and Panics, as you said, is in the position where he can still get picked up. They've now just got to try and capitalize and collapse down on what they've got so far, but they forgot about Fonkers. And you can never forget about Fonkers. He swings round and gets Panics and puts him down. That's the sledge gun and the frag grenades too. They still have the ability to call for more E1D trouble, but Leonski's just going to swing onto Nafe in the meantime, leaving just Yonker alone on the site. Has some pings and some intel, but unfortunately it gets you nowhere as Leonski's already crept in to Fonkers. Creeps around the back stairs and doesn't even catch a Vaish, who was waiting, watching, and Gamma yet again just lock MnM out of their own sight.
They're putting them in these positions where, you know, what's so difficult about the basement of this site is there's so many different ways in. You have generally players who are going to be pushing onto the breach, players pushing down yellow stairs. If you've taken kitchen control, then you'll have a player in there, maybe in security. You might have one in the back corridor. And the problem is when you're in a position like specifically what Yonker was in there, where he was pushed up towards pipes, is what do? You can either try and look out towards the breach. He knew that there was a player who was over towards yellow stairs. He got caught out from someone who was in kitchen. He can't hold all of those angles himself, which is why it is a risk to hold on in the way that MnM are doing so far. For example, I want to bring up what Users was doing, where he was in the public bathroom. A lot of teams will play it safe, and they will, you know, I suppose ensnare and allure in the attacking team to opening it up and droning out throughout there. They need to ensure it's clear, but they'll make sure that they're out of there as quick as possible to ensure that they survive that. Users didn't do that. He said, I'm going to go for a kill and I will throw out the C4, and that is incredibly ballsy, and it didn't pay off. And it meant that later on in the round, you put those anchors in a position where they can't look after themselves. They are really in a risky position, and they are just hoping the luck is on their side, and it wasn't, and it hasn't been for the last 3 rounds.
Gonna try and obviously adapt, overcome, and set themselves up for a lobby hold instead. And, well, I guess he said you try and learn the lion problem. Unfortunately, the claws are still as sharp as they seemingly ever were. So adapt and see if you can, I guess, alter what you do. 2 drones.
Yeah, 2 drones.
Yeah, one on either window. A bit of a misplay there on utility, and Fonkers is fed 2 big bits as it keeps himself in stern control here of admin. There is another drone. There is a heavy utility game coming in from Gamma. We've always talked about how they are quite a good, deep, tactile team, and we're seeing it from their drones. They have been consistently getting control of the spaces they want to.
Actually, you know, Gamma are just going in for a different approach here. They've decided to give up on the admin side take. I guess when you lose the drones like that, you just kind of got to accept that that's the way it's going to be. Nafe down present in where you see a lot of smokes playing, and that is once again the bathroom. But Gamma are still going to have to deal with the players who are upstairs.
I think that's the worry in the lockdown. Here comes the first pulse of the E1D as they try and burn towards Nafe and apply the pressure there. The shield gets popped, but so does a Vaish. No, it was the Maestro cam, actually, that was popped at the back of the lobby. They lose their eye in the slight sky as they're able to, I guess, take care of the worry of reverse intel. The concern is the hop-outs and the jump-outs now. Again, big flat face, big flat problems that come here. You don't have the Nomad to lock it off, and they're not going to bring anything otherwise to have it apart from just keeping a keen eye and a gun on it.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually just thinking, right when you were saying that, Deepak still had the Claymore in pocket. I think what he just did was go and run over to place the Claymore, because he doesn't have it anymore. And you could tell that they had attention facing over towards the Visa door. There's a nice kill from Funkers onto Astro, but Gamma are just going to push in.
Leonski's dug in. He's trying to get the diffuser down as a bit of surprise. Panics is keeping a very panicked eye across all the backside and is able to catch Death. Usus goes down too. There's one more. Thunkers caught out by Panics, and they've somehow stuck the plant in. Nath is able to at least get Leonski. It's Deepak and Panics now that are rotating round to get themselves in a bit of support. But there's the catch below. Yonka taken out by Panics on the spiral stairs, who's able to almost find his third. Nath shuts it down, looks for the last. It's a 1 versus 1 battle, and Panics does not have to hang around. Leaves a little bit of a martyrdom trail there to catch anyone that gets a bit too close, but the hop down has come. There's the pop of the canister. Not sure if that was on the door or not, but the Maestro's gone. Gonna try and stick it. No, hops up and
Panics!
4K for Panics there, who was the anchor, the hold, and sure, his eyes were flickering and flying around as they panically put the diffuser down, but the man was cool as ice when he needed to be.
Panic surfing the seas of momentum that Gamma have laid out so far in this game, something that, as one of the most criticized players in EU, he's probably been looking for that for so long, to be able to have his moment to turn around and say, no, I'm going to show you what I can do. And I have to say, despite the fact that Gamma didn't take the last map, he's still been showing these flashes of brilliance and these really nice Edward Cullen style sparkles in the sun that he could be showing off, and that was definitely a round that that exemplified that. So wonderful to see, but not so much for MnM, who now find themselves even further on the back foot, something which they've experienced already in this series so far.
You know, I never watched those films.
What, Twilight? I thought you loved really like bad movies.
I do, but I like bad movies that don't...
That are meant to be bad.
Yeah, like B movies.
Yeah, I agree.
There's a whole other thing. Look at that. Look at the play there, and it, you know, obviously that kill there on Funkers was pitch perfect. That was the moment of the round, and you saw him not 100% sure where to look just before that kicked in, but the placement, the positioning, and where he needed to be in the pre-fire, it was very, very well done there. And obviously, we didn't get a full eye on where the drones and the intel were coming from, but it would not surprise me, even, if it was built from the pre-placed drones and the play that Gamma has done before, because so far, we're seeing the Mozzie picked to try and counter what is an exceptional game from Gamma, which is their drone game, which is their intel game. And here, even with the Mozzie, they're still continually getting themselves in with the eyes and angles and ideas that they need to formulate these plants and plays. It was a rush, it was a Hail Mary, but it was in a way calculated. They knew the pocket of space they had, and they took it perfectly.
Really nice to see this from Gamma, who obviously will have been feeling the sting of the loss of the first map, knowing that for so long it was going in their favor, and knowing everything that's riding on this game. Now they want to be careful to avoid the pests, but Astro doesn't quite manage it. They've been losing a lot of drones to pests. You have to give credit to MnM for that at the very least.
But I think there they just burnt it. They were like, getting our drone in is more important, so let's just throw one through, get an eye, and get an idea from that point onwards. And
still tried to jump over it.
It gave it a go, but at that point, I think you're just looking at, okay, well, kind of acceptable losses. And here's they pop a flash. The first one, unfortunately, falls through the hatch, so they wouldn't get anybody that's inside. There's the E1D, and there is an unfortunate, well, worry of an ash canister that gets caught in a window frame that didn't really exist.
Yeah, I was like, just chilling in the sky like Ash earlier.
Yeah.
That's a nice opening of the reinforced wall that you have in connector. That gives a line of sight through into meeting, but already it's going to be that's the first to go down, and constant backwards and forwards here, leaving in a 3 versus 2.
Now then, hiding in the smoke, but the diffuser isn't. Leonski dropped, and this is the best position that we've seen MnM in for a very long time. The cooked frag grenade goes a little bit short, unfortunately, and there's still E1D on the board, but that was the last one. Now they have a minute to play just on the intel that they've already got. Nathan User slightly separated the UK roster with the 2 UK defenders still on the board in a situation of trying to get a little bit of control back into their hands. Panics, the man of the moment of the last round, is still on the board too. Yes, he doesn't usually pop off in the same level, but at the same time, we know what he's capable of on the previous round. Unfortunately, the idea of the pre-played grenade there didn't quite lead to success.
Naif just trying to be cautious here. He drops down. Knows that he could catch out Panics, who is just further up the yellow stairs than him, and won't be able to catch him out through those holes. But now he knows where his enemy is, and he catches him out himself. That leaves just one player. It's Usus remaining on MnM. You said this was the best position that MnM looked like they were in, and Gamma still took it away from them.
It was well played, I think, from Gamma, but also these little moments, these little trades, they're not going the same way.
Look at chat.
Yep. There. They know the 5-0. This is Gamma. Is they're already memeing on their failures in this series. This very important series that can dictate their jobs, their lives, and their careers for the next year. But you got a meme, you know?
Yeah, I mean, this is what happens when you have Benelux team come up against a UK team. What do you expect the communications to be like?
Sternab driven.
I don't want to think about what that could entail.
Or is Sterny NA now? I don't know if he's
Wait, is Sterny NA now?
Yeah, well, I don't know if he's been kicked out of the UK Massive again. It's a constant back and forth of whether he's ours or whether he's left us for NA.
It's like when two parents decide they don't want the kid.
Wow. No, because NA love him.
They're just trying to par him off.
No, NA love a cheeky bit of Sternab. We all love a cheeky bit of Sternab. And MnM, well, you probably want to love a cheeky bit of a chance at pulling some rounds here. It's not gone well, it's fair to say. Gamma, they have a good Consulate game. And you know what? They also have a good defensive half on Consulate too. It's not just their build and love of Avaish with that line, which, as I said, is a pretty consistent key towards their pushes and something where it's been just a well-timed problem. Often you'll see teams bring a lion and they don't run it too often and they'll kind of mistime their pushes. Here, it is a perfect 3-2-1, let's boogie. And, well, they're boogieing.
Now, you have to remember that Gamma, while they could take Consulate here, they're doing pretty well. It's their map. The last map is Theme Park, and Theme Park is a map that MnM beat Matchco on. Now, you could argue that that means that Gamma have all the more information on the way that MnM played, but it is still something that they have to bear in mind, that it is a map that MnM have done decently on in the past. But we've still got to figure out if we're going to get there first, or are MnM going to come through and take a straight sweep of 7 rounds, just like they did back on Cafe. Well, Gamma begin to enter into the building as Deepak is the first to swing through into admin. No members of MnM nearby. Ooh, a near miss for Fonkers.
And he's able to loop away. And to be honest, if a player's been able to have some striking moments with possibilities of more Fonkers, again, he's started to show up a little bit. Sure, the numbers don't really lead too much into that theory, but look at the positions he's getting himself into. He seems to be active. And when the roster's otherwise suffering a lot, well, passive is the problem. Panics removed very early, no frag grenades to go. And oh no, a sledge as well. Just looking out the window, that's another potential screenshot of that corpse.
Gab, you need some good YouTube thumbnails. This series has been the one for you. And I have
kneeling on the windowsill as well.
He was kind of praying for Gamma. I have to say that it's nice that Usus got that kill, given how much he's struggled in this position on this site so far. He's definitely felt the pressure. And the previous C4 he went for didn't work out in his favor, but it will be Avaish to turn things around as Dats is the next to fall.
Avaish is having such a good day and is refusing to let Gamma start to slip through onto this firefight against MnM. 7-2, but again, you've got to look at how he's playing this, how he's pulsing and pushing his team's actual momentum into this game. Now then, as they look towards the lower half of the spiral stairs, there's also a body pushing antechamber as they swing in. Astro aims a little bit high, a little bit low, a little bit mid, and a little bit, oh no! Astro finds Users, but Users finds a Vaish over the shoulder. There is Nape, and there is another trade. Everything is happening, but it still leaves Deepek in a 2 versus 1. Hey, better than a 3 versus 1, but you've got 10 seconds. And you just got to dig your way through, but Jonka's not even going to let you start. Yonka!
Oh no, it's starting. It's beginning!
5-1. I need to sit down.
Yeah, me too. I think everyone needs to sit down so far, but MnM taking it at a 5-1 at the half. We've seen this before.
Yeah, it's okay. Let's just paint the idea that
let's Bob Ross this.
Last time round on Cafe, that was an exceptional circumstance. I think it's fair to say, because what we've seen different here is Gamma were 5-1 up on their defense on Cafe, which is a little bit more to be expected. Here they're 5-1 up on their attack. Sure, Consulate can lead better to your attacks than Cafe, there's no doubt about that, but it doesn't usually lead you to a 5-1 difference. A 3-3 is generally a very common split. I still think they've got the potential to lock this off. Okay, it's still 5-1. It'd be a hilarious meme if everything goes wrong, and photos before horrible events in R6 would be well happy with this. But
R6 events.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just having a look, because the thing is, it's not even just about the fact that Gamma were super strong at their defense on Cafe and their attack wasn't as weak and now their attack's been great. It's that MnM really struggle on their attack. It is very specifically that has been an issue for MnM, not just here against Gamma. It just has been. It has been a problem. And that's where the concern comes in for me, because yeah, we can meme about the 5-1 thing. These are different halves. And now MnM are supposedly moving on to the half that they are weaker on. And, just having a look at Gamma's defensive stats, in Challenger League, so far, which obviously isn't the biggest pool of statistics, but in Challenger League so far, the worst differential that they have defending any site on Consulate is meeting CEO, which they have won 2 and they have lost 2. That is the actually no, archives tell us where they've lost 1 and they've won 0, but I think we can discount that one. But the point is they look pretty decent on the defense here. They've won more defenses than they have attacks. Or then they've lost defenses, sorry. And I think when we think about MnM's struggles that they've had on attack, that's where I get a bit worried for them.
I think my fear is also built around the concern of the timid nature of the attacks of MnM, because if you look at the defenses that are frequently put down by Gamma, a lot of it is often driven by traps. You'll have Capcan plays, you'll have Frost plays especially, and it's this lockdown idea where when push comes to shove, well, shove makes you stumble and fall into a Capcan trap or a Frost trap. It's something that can really punish what is usually, as I said, a timid approach. I also want to just pay reference and dividends to the lack of drone game that seemed to be a bit of a problem. Sure, it's not the be-all and end-all and make-all of any team. MnM suffered in the last map. Their drones were frequently costed and removed very early on from their pushes. The worry and the trouble here is what we've highlighted and what we've seen is a very good information game from Gamma, a very consistent information game too, and this is an intel-driven game. This is a game where if you have the ideas of where people are, you usually win. So if those things all keep hitting the pace that we've seen Gamma hit them on so far, it's again down to MnM. I've got to heftily step up on the second half.
The other thing is obviously Consulate's one of those maps where just because of the nature of kind of the geography of the map, you have to commit to entering into the building. You can't really afford to pussyfoot in the same way that you can on other maps. Consulate's not really like that. Like once you're in, you've got to commit to that. And so if they have been playing timidly on some of their attacks, like you suggest, and I think that's fair to say, this isn't really a map where you can get away with that. So they're going to, I think, have to be more aggressive and commit to that. And I mean, they have the skill on their side to do that with. Absolutely, they do. But so many of the gunfights that we've seen in this series so far have been trades. It's a backwards and forwards. Every now and then we've seen, one specific person from a team get a bunch of kills in one go. But for the most part, it's been trades.
And
you've got to be the one who comes out on top.
Yeah, and I think that's something that for me again ties into what Gamma does very well, is their control and their pacing of where fights are happening. They seem to have the idea of where they wanted each spark to be ignited, whether it was obviously throughout the bathroom and they had the instant pickup of another body and another body and another body. They always have a second setup, and then in a lot of cases a third setup towards the confrontations that they want to have. And what we see from the roam game often from MnM was a bit of a looser hold. Now, we'll be back in the game in just a second, but as I've said, we're in the worrying situation, MnM fans, now, as you're looking towards your team having to pull back a big thing. I can only imagine what Avish said to say,
yeah,
wait,
wondering.
no one, -1 ratio. All furry talk cancelled.
It's probably because you're casting, Fleet.
Listen, we raised a lot of money. I'll sell myself for a good cause, even if it means I had to dress as a cat.
You never answered the question about where was the tail.
Yes, I did. It was on a belt. Heathens.
Okay, well, whatever you say.
Happy Halloween.
It's Christmas now. We put up our Christmas tree yesterday.
I cannot believe that your housemate put up your Christmas tree already.
Yeah,
That's, you know. Like, the dust
I was
Halloween
out the house.
hadn't even settled.
Yeah, but we don't really do Halloween in this country.
Crazy.
And, like,
Crazy.
she's from mainland Europe, so, like, they extra don't do Halloween. But either way...
I mean, technically, neither do we. We use it as an excuse to usually enjoy drinks. Like juices and ribenas.
Like, yeah, I was going to say apple juice. I
Apple
actually don't like
juices.
apple juice. I think it's disgusting. Anyway, the point is we have seen this position before. We've seen the 5-1, but it was on a different half.
Yeah.
Are Gamma Gaming going to be able to hold on to it? Do they have the tenacity this time? Or is it once again going to fall through into their own demise? This is where we will find out. We have already found out that Halloween's over. You already know that. You don't need me to tell you, but you do need us to show you this.
Yeah, and I think for me, I would be surprised if this slipped through Gamma's fingers. It was funny. Sure, the previous map, if you're in the situation of, things have gone round, a reverse sweep 5-0 to 7-5, it's still a tough loss. But here, if they lose this lead, I think that would speak of bigger problems throughout this map. Because, you know, you're on your defense now in Consulate. It's still a hyper-aggressive map, but even if you're able to just lock down a couple of these, well, that's all you need. And a couple is so much more common on your defenses now in this situation. Avish is looking to get aggro here on the windows. The concern is this. Yonker is watching and waiting and hoping that they take the bait and fly out and try and kill the Ashe. But that's going to give the idea that, hey, you probably shouldn't do it. You're being watched.
Always a good idea to be aware of when that is something that is happening to you. Now, remember, this is a basement defense right now. They are down in Cafe and Garage, just because there is a lot of this vertical positioning. You don't want to forget about that. We're seeing Avish rotate back down. And MnM, you know, they're not looking to rush. We said maybe going aggressive could be something that they would look to do. You still have Deepak on the mute, present inside bathroom. I'm wondering if he'll drop down quicker than Users decided to do, because Dats isn't far away.
Seems like Dats is steadily
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, he's out of there. He's not going to take the time and waste it as we start to hear the aggression and the Selma's pop behind. Otherwise, his life would have been accosted very quickly. They've shut them down using utility, but we saw this as a bit of a problem on Cafe too, is when they weren't able to actually catch them as they fell back on the flanks. It led to just aggressive firefights on the site where yet again Gamma was set up to be able to take advantage of those trades. Looking to see if they can C4 the sledge that hammers steadily away, but he's keeping himself distant between each swing. Uses some panics, find one apiece as the first bodies start to fall around those spiral stairs. Panics has taken up the mantle of keeping it under watch now as he moves around in security, but with Jonker putting pressure onto the main door, it's actually the sledge who finally suffers to Avish underneath.
Yeah, caught through the own sledge hole that he just created. And now MnM looking a bit weakened, but there's 10 seconds remaining. Nath gets a kill, but in classic fashion, it is traded out. Users, he adds on that Nath has to do it himself. He runs through the smoke, he gets down, and then finally finished by Panics. And once again, an example of MnM's attack looking somewhat lackluster and something that may need to be picked up if they hope to stay in this game. Well, it will. It's match point.
Yeah, they've really got to do it if they want to step in and not see us on a third map. And as I pointed out before, it was going to be very unlikely on this turn. Not only because Gamma had a good first half and Gamma are now on their defense, but MnM's attacks today generally haven't looked great. Sure, neither did Gamma on the first map, and that's why it led to a success, because they were only able to get the one that turned into the most precious attack win of Cafe. Here, though, it doesn't really beat the same kind of par, because you're looking at a team that's already got through their attacks and done it so well because they lent in with huge aggression, because they lent in with huge pinch and push, and the slow and steady game isn't working against a team that has such a good handle on utility, because slow and steady on a map like this only costs you. And unfortunately, you have to try and find some of that patented UK massive aggression if you want to swing yourself out the windows like Secret and Na'Vi used to do.
I'm really sad that the 6-pick went off of the Frost, because we saw the Frost map earlier. That was just so good. It would have been such a wonderful way to finish off this off this map. Yeah, it would have been fun. Well, it would have been funny for us, maybe not so much for MnM, but that's not a problem that they're going to have to deal with. Instead, it will be Alibi that they will have to set their sights on in terms of Leonski. Either way, Gamma on match point here. And as we've alluded to so much at this point, MnM's attack has been looking weak, and the Gamma are going to be feeling it through their veins right now. I actually like very aggressive positioning from Panix, who's just getting ready should there be anyone on the CEO window, but there's not going to be, as MnM look like they're setting up for an admin take.
Yeah, they have all the angles and ideas they want. Usus is looking towards the printer and copy entrance there. The soft barricade might mean he feels a little bit confident, but unless you have a lockdown on a Vaish who's playing around the Visa stairs, it's going to become quickly problematic. There's Dats opening up that hatch and opening up the angles to make sure they get this big block of control around the Visa stairs, because if you don't have it underneath, well, then you may as well not have it at all. There is the opener, there's the room, and there's the possibility of rotation as the pace is for the first time seen from an MnM attack here. They're getting the groundwork done. They're generally getting inside the map and getting themselves drones step for step ahead so they can make sure that they strike. But Astro is potentially looking and eyeing a rotate around the Visa side. He's steadily pushing towards a connector beneath and might try and strike under MnM, who, well, whether they expect it or not, is going to be the story in the kill feed in the top right sooner rather than later.
Well, speaking about connector, Nace not too far away as he's on the meeting window, making no short work of opening up the table with the lifelines. There goes a nade, I believe. But either way, it'll be a Vaish who's downed by Nafe, and suddenly that space is open. Panix isn't far away as he and Leonski is still present in connector, and Nafe is still outside the window, just droning in. But the point is, you can tell that MnM know the pressure that they are under to ensure this attack works out, and they are not wasting their time working on it.
Now they have a bit of clarity, and they have Yonka keeping an eye underneath for Astro, who's still playing towards the bottom of the spiral stairs. Quickly noticed and rotates back round to offer some support along long desk as Leonski wants to try and step up and step into the ground that has otherwise been shaken and pushed away. I believe all the canisters have been popped from Panix as well. Quickly did it to buy some time. Yeah, they're gone, so now it's just down to the guns. Otherwise, a precious 45 seconds that's already been wasted, blown, and put to the air to stop the unstoppable Nafe. 30 seconds, and Deepak is eyeing the possibility of the run out and rotation here. The bullets are popped and pressed, and there's nobody quite on the windows as Yonka goes deep towards the plant spot, but is caught by Leonski, who is just watching and waiting. Deepak gets bonkers too, and there's a man in the smoke, and Panix is caught on the opposite side, but it's a 2 versus 2 with only 15 seconds left. Dats and Usus are the two left. They put it into a 2 versus 1. Usus spotted on the drone. Deepak underneath has an impact, has the ability to open this up as an angle. Concerned about it being watched, throws it towards a default spot, but they're not quite there. They're just around you, but oh no, Usus is the one that locks it down. MnM, they're not over yet, but they are no way over the hill.
Keeping themselves in the game for just one more round, and they can finally let out a sigh of relief knowing that that was too close for comfort at the end. Gamma remain on match point and still have so many opportunities to swing this over into their favor and take it to the map 3. But after seeing what happened back on Cafe Dostoyevsky, where MnM just ran away with the momentum, they're not going to be resting on their laurels and getting too comfortable anytime soon. And you can even tell tell that by what it is that Gamma potentially going to bring. Okay, this is interesting. I mean, I was going to say the Oryx, which they've obviously 6-picked off of, but instead they'll be implementing a mirror.
Protect your bombs from being defused by attackers.
Now, I quite like the extension possibilities of Mirror here. Obviously, you can use her as an angle where if you want to look towards Piano and look towards that side from inside where Leonski can vary, it's pretty great, and usually the standard. It means you've got to be a bit creative with grenades and try and blow them out so the angle isn't something that's so easily and often gifted. We've also seen, obviously it played on the second story too. Sometimes you'll have it looking towards the admin side and have long desk as a bit of a structured hold, but then you open yourself to the curiosities of the big lobby windows, so you can also just kind of stretch and alleviate the pressure and possibility, force more attention and attention towards the second story. Instead of just having it as a box clear and a box roam, it gives you the option to go via connector or go via wherever, as Leonski is probably going to set themselves up with that angle.
It's going to put MnM in a position that they don't want to be in, and again, it's not anything overly complicated, but it just means that they'll have to spend more time elsewhere. And one of the big problems for MnM is how little time they've been left with at the end of a lot of their attacking rounds that we've seen so far today. They have to worry about all these players who are scattered all across the map rather than just some closer to the site. I don't want to say turtle because you don't get that on this site, really. Like a lobby turtle defense. What is that?
It's like two turtles stacked on top of each other.
Right. But Gamma will know very much that this is a weakness of MnM's. They'll be looking to exploit that. We saw Deepak do it in the last round as he ran around on Malusi, heading back downstairs, and his presence downstairs, while it didn't end up paying off, it is something that still could end up working this time round. And MnM are basically going to be like, I don't know, just trying to catch ants in their hands because they know that they need this round.
Do you do that often?
No, actually, my first metaphor was like when you try to catch like kids that are running around hyperactive, but...
Okay. Like a kindergarten teacher, they can't quite get the lockdown on Gamma, and it's Deepak with a drop grenade. Impacted as he fell to the floor and was able to take care of Naif, a big force. The lead-in for the team last time round is shut down first, and it only bodes one of those horrifying death knells as Astro finds the second. Fonkers suffers. They have a big angle all the way towards the top floor now. They know they're in a fantastic position here, and they know perfectly how to push and exploit it. Usus has been able to creep his way into the spiral stairs, but with Vish finding Dats, he's quickly just seeing his teammates drops Astro. But now that gives the game away of where he is. That's going to just kind of put the attention and push where Deepak is towards the fight here. Yonka is waiting for the rotation up those stairs, and Deepak has opted, no, I'm not going to go just yet. There's 40 seconds. Let's make them sweat a little bit.
Deepak's in absolutely no rush. This is a 2 versus 4 and everything in on it for MnM. They've just decided that they're going to move in. Panix isn't far away and he could throw out the toxic babes, but Jonka's just got to go in for the plant anyway, despite this disadvantage they have. Users can't secure the kill onto Panix, and he adds a second one on, and that means that Gamma will very comfortably take Consulate, and this fluke will be going to a game 3.
We're going to a game 3, and Panix maybe played the best game that he's played in a very long time. Obviously had a huge moment before where we last saw him, if I can recall, before the split. He was on about 7-3, ends this split on a 6-2. And I guess if there's a day for your worst players throughout the season to show up, make it today. Make it when you are staring down the eyes and the possibility of going home and watching yet another Pro League Tier 1 season from the sideline. Well, Gamma got to go have a bit of a moment, bit of a breather, and look towards the final map.
Yeah, we're now in a position now where this could go either way. We made jokes at the end of the last game, Fluke, about how Des and Hat would be warring on the desk, but now it's not swinging either one way or the other, and I'm wondering who's going to win out that wrestle.
Well, we'll have to see some commercials first before we find that out. We'll be back with the desk momentarily.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Desichu and Hap, you've both had a map each to talk about one team or the other that you may lean into a bit more or less. But this time, on map 2, heading into Consulate, it's MnM Gaming that come out on top. What a big victory, Hap. This had Gamma written all over it. They had control the whole time.
It looked like a completely different Gamma compared to what we saw in the previous map in Cafe, where on their attacks they looked absolutely lost. They didn't know what to do, how to approach it, and here they were on Consulate, picking up most of their attacking rounds. I believe it was a 5-1 coming in again, and you saw for a moment of like saying 5-0, not again, because last time it was the reverse sweep, but they were able to close it out this time. And that brings us up to map number 3, which will be very hard fought, I'm for sure.
Okay, theme park, right? If there is one map that is out of the metagame, to call it that way, it is this map. Doesn't get played that much, but when it does, always gives us some interesting topics to talk about. Some new call-outs that we learn every now and then, right, Des? So
Split.
There it is, our decider.
Where the F is split?
So I am wondering... I am wondering which team starts on which side on this, because right now the whole story has been, okay, how well can you play on defense? This kind of switched over on Consulate, but theme park usually falls into that system, right?
Yeah, I'm just gutted I'm not casting this to completely make that slip up all over again. But I think coming into it, looking at how it's going to shape up, I believe MnM won the coin flip, we're told. There is just no way in hell they'd choose to start an attack here. They'll be going to defense first, and you'll see Gamma going on the attack first. And given what we just saw on the previous map not too long ago, what do we see coming out of Gamma? Lion picking every single attacking round, and for the defenders, Mute and Mozzie in every single defensive round. And this really throws me back to a certain UK team when Na'Vi played against Tempera. What do? Mute and Mozzie every single round. You just deny the attackers any kind of intel, force them to come for blind gunfights and win off that alone. That should be MnM's game plan here, I think. If they come in trying to take fights around the map like they sort of tried to half on the last map, Gamma with that momentum of the last map are just going to roll them over. So I want to see a more defensive MnM coming out here.
What's with that Zofia there that we saw?
The defect ban for map 1
yeah.
was sick. Yeah, I loved it.
How's that going to play? Because in Consulate, it definitely gave Big T, Deepak that is, the ability to just run around. He's very comfortable in the operator, very flexible, could do a lot with Zofia. I'm wondering if this is the target ban you go for again.
I mean,
yeah,
it was definitely more impactful than he was in the first half, but I think we got to give credit to Panix because he has been stepping up, had some huge rounds coming in there, so I think he's definitely the one to praise here for this win. However, the thing is, they have also been tested by a Lion to be coming in, and now you got to choose, do we ban a Lion? Do we ban a Zofia? Or are we forced to go for a Heartbreach ban because you are starting on that defense? So you might want to take care of either a Thatcher or a Maverick because they attack themselves.
I'm worried it's theme park.
Yeah, I'm just kind of like, I think with Heartbreach on this map, like, it's not a map like Clubhouse where banning away a couple of Heartbreaches is the way to go for, like, because there's so few things you realistically need to get open with Heartbreach. I almost feel like it's a wasted ban. I think that just absolutely won, and maybe you rely on Gamma to ban that. And then for the side of MnM, you look towards that Lion ban, Zofia ban again, a more targeted ban. Take some wind out of the sails of Gamma here. You've got to strike a blow against something they've been playing very, very well for the last few maps. And although they've only played it in one, that Zofia absolutely jumps to mind as something you need to take away from Deepak. We've seen the number of times that he walks through teams with 2, 3, 4K on that operator. Just put him on something a little less comfortable. I don't think they'll ban the Zofia, but I can see the logic behind it coming into theme as well.
But you come into this map where there's so many attackers that can have big impact, right? Roam game in such a big map. Jackal, Dokebi, you talked about Lion. All of these are going to fit all together, but I'm wondering what's going to be the case for the defenders, because we're seeing a lot of my ban. I think is like a 50% ban rate for the operator whenever is possible.
Mirror ban, surely.
There's a lot that can be on the plate here, and I wonder how you answer on this case as MnM, really to push yourself through with a big advantage early on. What do you think, Ab?
I mean, you're starting out on the defense, so you don't want to hinder your own playstyle too much, but you don't want to give them something they can potentially abuse harder than you. So, for example, if none of your strats contain a mirror, you ban a mirror because the chance is very likely that they will have an opportunity to play it. They will take it because it is still a very powerful operator. Same goes for Maestro, for example. If you're planning on using a mirror yourself, you leave it open. But if you're not planning on using Maestro, you ban out the Maestro because Maestro are also a very powerful operator. So you really got to check here, what do we want to play? And if we don't want to play it, are they likely to pick it up themselves?
So, Des, very quickly, our lobby's ready. Who takes this?
I think MnM can bounce back on this one. Call it a bit of UK massive bias if you really want, but I just think on a map like this, when they can play behind the mute and the Mozzie, things like that, they're going to have a pretty good day.
Stein?
BDS takes it.
What? Hello? Where's...
Oh, wait, we're here in the UCL, sorry.
Jalaber Cape Cup?
But it really depends. I got to see the first 2-3 rounds to see how their attack will fare on a map like Team Park. If they manage to pick up two of the first 4 attacks, I think it will be Gamma. Otherwise, it will be going over to MnM.
I see you're sitting on the fence for this one so far. Okay, you know what? Fair enough. Let's toss it over then to our casters. Des, Hap, thank you so much for the detailed info. Our last map of the series goes to Theme Park. Winner of this game is in the grand final for EU Challenger League and has the chance to make it directly into the EU League. Huge game, and it all comes down to this. All on to our casters. Fluke, Gio, all yours.
Welcome back for one final trip into the, I guess, a very touchy place. Theme Park, a dangerous position for any team that's on their attack. And to be honest, we've seen statistics of those be kind of monumental in deciding who's having the better day. MnM versus Gamma. MnM winning the coin flip, get to start on their defense. So Gamma, we got to see more of what you guys put on the previous map.
Yeah, Gamma are going to be resenting that coin at the very least. And I mentioned this earlier, Fluke, is how we've already seen MnM play this map here in playoffs against Matchco, and they won. So even though that can give you some information, it can give you the opportunity to VOD review, it still sets the precedent that you know that this is a team who can make this map work for themselves. And not only that, they're starting things off on the advantageous half. Basically, from the get-go, this looks way more preferable for MnM.
And I think that's the thing as well, is what we've seen as a lack of MnM is, I guess, confidence in a lot of these situations. Sure, you pull yourself back from a 5-1, it signifies a fantastic mental game. There's no two ways about that. You're playing a game and you're playing a late run strategy that you know puts you at risk, and you know it's going to cause problems when you're on your attacks, which is what you're opening on. It's a dangerous game. There's no two ways about that. Yet they showed, obviously, fortitude. They showed the ability to pull back. The last map, Consulate, it's a little bit of a write-off. As Des said, there's a reason that we haven't seen it for a while, and it's the reason that Gamma wanted to go there quickly. Theme, though, well, you're leading in your defense. You're leading in with the possibility of setting and stepping yourselves up. They're going standard here so far. Thatcher, Maverick, Kaid, and Wamai. We're in pretty, I guess, set-up territories. They don't want to try and rock the boat. They want to take this as is.
Yeah, it does, of course, mean that Mira is still in. That was one thing that Derry mentioned on the desk. Mira is a pretty useful operator, specifically here on this map, because I suppose you can kind of see the top floor as Theme Park almost as 2 channels. You often see them being held by mirror windows, for example, at the top of the yellow stairs to prevent any kind of push in through office. And then also you have kind of like down on the south side, if anyone wants to come in through kind of like the initiation control kind of area. And Mirror can really be used to control those areas very, very much. And here on a Bunk and Daycare, that's exactly what MnM are looking like they are wanting to do. Now, whether they'll use them on those walls remains to be seen. I suspect there will at least be one on the office wall.
Yeah, and obviously, it gives you the eyes. Gives you the angles, yes. Gives you the ideas. The thing about a mirror and the worry that you face with it is that it's a two-faceted setup, because it forces you to try and grab the intel of what's behind it. It forces you to have to try and push yourself into an uncomfortable position, whether at the cost of a drone, which, as we've already said, is probably the pound for pound most valuable thing in Gamma's setup right now. They are making those work. And if it can be forced to a more uncomfortable position, if they have to drone out mirror windows, if they have to work out if someone's behind there and how they're playing it, well, that might work in the favor of it.
And this is one of the things that gets spoken about a lot, particularly on the defense of this side, is breaking into and taking control of offers is not only important, but very difficult. And it's part of the reason why Theme Park is known as not being particularly attacker-friendly. Not only do you have the mirror window present there at the top of yellow, with the soft wall next to it, that means not only can she shoot through it, but she can also play around the C4s. But that's on the Goyo, secured by a Vulcan shield, playing in... is it called stash? I never know what this little room is called. I just call it like closet, but it doesn't have any clothes in it.
Closet? It's vault.
Yeah, vault.
I call it vault. I mean, obviously, every team's got different holds for it. But you wouldn't store your clothes in there, would you?
Well, exactly. That's why I was like, as soon as it came to mind, I was like, well, I'm going to sound stupid. But either way, the point is you have to rotate out onto the scaffolding. So even when the Vulcan shield goes and it forces him to relinquish his position, he still has a way out and you can still hold control of the yellow stairs. That makes it really difficult.
To be honest, if we need to educate people about places and where they are on this map, at some point,
It's
I guess
Derry.
we're going to have to show Derry where
Do you know where
Split
Split is?
In less stream-friendly words, for those who don't know, we ran a charity tournament over the weekend. Derry played in it. Dez played in it. Big Dez.
He was in a 1v1.
It was a 1 versus. It didn't start that way.
He was playing Hibana.
There was a lot of comms going on that was calling where he was as they pushed onto Throne, and the final player was in Split, and very famously said, "Where the F is Split?" Screamed it through his team's laughter. It was amazingly hilarious.
It was a great clip.
And then he said, "I've never felt more pressure in my 28 or 27 years of life, or however old Derry is."
Yeah.
Yeah, that was what we were talking about as well.
So if we go to Armory Throne, we can point out where that is. But there's the Vulcan shield that I spoke about before that's gone, and Dats has already taken his place behind the mirror window, which is now being selmered into oblivion.
Or is it?
Well...
Okay, very well made mirror window. That one somehow survived by the strange looks of it, unless that's just from
It's like, you know, we spoke about in the quarterfinals, like ordering things off of Amazon versus Wish. This
Yeah.
was an Amazon mirror window.
Yeah, it's a not very unfortunate moment there, but it's going to allow them to still push that off, because the Warriors now, they cannot hold behind it. They cannot pop up and cause problems around the side of that reinforcement. So it means the top of this staircase is so dangerous. Users, though, somehow strikes across the yellow stairs and takes care of Leonsky. Blows the C4 and digs in underneath the diffuser, which is above, with Dat locking off Panics and Astro suffering too. The swing comes from Deepek, who's able to put one down, and Avish, the big force for Gamma so far, is still standing, which is always going to be a problem. Yonka, however, is able to actually shut down that problem before it comes a bigger one. There's so many bullets heading towards you. At that point, there's nowhere else to really go. MnM take the first round.
He was ready to spring, and spring he did. And there you go, those final 2 kills that he secured for himself. And once again, it felt like another round that just didn't last the super long time. It wasn't super quick. It was definitely one where you kind of didn't notice the time ticking away. But the point still stands. It was, again, kind of aggressive, backwards and forwards, as we see between these two teams, and went in the favor of MnM, as we would expect with them being on the defense, despite the fact that they lost that mirror window, or something happened to the mirror window.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. Maybe it just popped out afterwards. It's one of those things. We see it from the corners of our eye, but it definitely looked like the one-way glass was still in somehow.
Mm.
The approach now comes as they set themselves up to... They're avoiding Throne for now, and Throne used to be the first choice for pretty much every single team. It was the general lead-in because a lot of teams saw it as the strongest site. And at this point, I think what we've seen across the board, not just on theme, but across almost every single map, is first site picks. Because the game at the minute is so utility heavy, because the game at the minute is so utility driven, they're well researched, well prepped, and well placed by attacks. And attackers seemingly have almost more success on what was traditional first sites because they're so much more used to running them. What we see here nowadays as well, not just from MnM, but it's just a curiosity I'm going to throw out to the wind right now, is teams are opting to avoid what the famous first sites were. We've seen it from both these teams across both of the maps so far as well. They're generally playing themselves slightly away from the standard beaten path, and I guess theme is no different from that, as we still find ourselves tiptoeing around and overthrown, but not quite in as of yet.
Well, I mean, MnM just really don't like Armory Throne. When I watched back the VOD of the game that they played against Matchco, it's something that Jess brought up in the cast was that MnM just haven't liked that site. And until that game that they played against Matchco, if Jess's statistics are correct, they actually hadn't played it in Challenger League. They hadn't been to that site at all. So it is probably one that they will hold off on, and we are probably more likely to see a lab pop up before we see that. I guess you never know. We'll have to see how it goes, but it is definitely something worth noting, the fact that so many teams are avoiding what have historically been the primary sites.
Deepak wants to take control of Dragon Stairs and see if they can lock off any other rotation possibility that is not massively played, to be honest, down here from a lot of teams. Sure, sometimes you'll have a wild card Vigil that likes to be a bit mobile underneath, but with the long spread of this map, and especially this site as well, where you'll see all the way from the vault across the entirety, if we pan down slightly, you can just see it's a line. It's an entire firing line across this second story. They try and crack open the closer walls here as they put pressure down that long central corridor that leads to the heart between both sites right now. But otherwise, it's just it's waiting. It's baiting. It's seeing who can pick up the first kill. And as you can see, Astro's droning the back line of this and seeing if they can spot out where the angles are being held. It's pretty well established.
Yeah, you've also got panics droning around as well. They're just ensuring that they have full information about that. And in goes the smoke to prevent the mirror window from being able to see. And there's the C4, but it won't catch anyone. Instead, it'll be a Vaish catching Fonkers as the first kill as Deepak sends up the lifeline and Leonsky goes in for the plant.
Mirror suffers, but is able to escape with their life somehow, but Leonsky puts the diffuser down. Post-plant situation, and they've got to try and retake the yellow stairs as it's otherwise been taken over by Zafir. Naif is looking to try and fight up the core corridor, talked about before. They swing towards it, but they can't quite get the angle on Astro on the far side. The pressure comes from Volt, and a great reaction gets rid of Users now as a Vaish opens up all the angles possible. The big gun of Kali fires through the many walls and problems here, but with Astro getting a double, Naif finally shuts him off, and Naif pushes all the way up. Yonka is looking towards it, but with Deepak playing underneath, they're waiting for the plant to be occupied. There it is. There they go. Yonka stops and struggles. 4 seconds is your burster and possibility here. They wait, they bait, they play, but unfortunately waited, baited, and played too long. It's just a matter of locking it off for Deepak. And we talked about underneath often not being massively contested by teams. And I guess that's what happens when Gamma reads that.
Well played there by Gamma, and as well to have Deepak down below in a position that, given the frantic nature of what happened towards the end of the round, MnM weren't in any position to go down and deal with him, and even then, you get back to the diffuser, and time is pretty much already run out. You don't have the 7 seconds required that you need. And that means that Gamma, on a map that they should be severely on the back foot on by being on attack, have managed to take their first round within the first 2 rounds of the game. That's actually quite positive, I think, for them. You could find that MnM take the next 4, and that could happen. But focus on the positives. We're on map 3. There's everything to play for. Both of these teams are looking to finally make it into EUL after a long wait and a long period of working exceptionally hard for it, and only one of these 2 teams can make it through into the finals. That's what this is about. So you take the optimism where you can, because they need it.
It's funny how on the top of the bracket it was 2 O's across the board, and here it is 2 1s down in the lower half of this bracket, and they're making sure that they push that all the way to the end. Now opting for Lab and seeing if they can keep control here. The extension over the top with the castles is going to buy them time and buy them pressure. There's the lockdown. It was perfectly played by Deepak. Struck up the stairs, but had the sense to pull back and get themselves into the post-plant situation when they had the confirmation it was going down. Great work and attempted by Naif to push through and take the 2 gunfights from very close corners. If you're pushing a Kali with an SMG, it's a scary prospect.
Well, Naif made it work before.
Did.
So, you never know. But now, as I alluded to before, they have decided to come to Lab rather than going to the more popular Armory and Throne, because They just haven't figured out split yet. But it looks like Gamma are not wasting any time to hop on in. They're not going to be going for a rush in on the side, which we've seen a number of teams do, and it is a huge risk. And Jonker's going to be feeling the pressure as the maintenance wall begins to be opened.
And Leonski is watching very fervently for the pop-up here of Yonker, but no catch as of yet. A Vaish with that massive CSRX is causing so many problems. This is a map where you have a lot of soft walls that work and intermingle and twine all the way throughout the floors, and a lot of players can get caught out from just someone watching these sightlines that are just free to be opened for a lot of teams with Kali. You'll see her just pepper some hefty bullets all the way through and say, right, I'll sit here for a while and I've cut off this rotation, oh, and this rotation, oh, and this rotation. It's a big problem for a lot of teams that like to be a bit mobile, and it puts Yonker in a bit of a tough situation. Drones coming in from barrels behind. Users has a bit of a split cover here, and Funkus is above barrels, so might be able to put some pressure down into oil as they wait for the window to come, but otherwise Bunk isn't under any immediate stress. They're taking the firefight wide, and I'm curious to see as Gamma actually goes for a rotation. Astro's the first off the board. They get the split in, they push in, and they can't quite find it. There it is, the amount of bodies that flooded there across the board they pick up as Funkus is left very isolated from this.
Yeah, he's just going to jump out, and it doesn't work out in his favor. I have to say, my heart actually kind of went out to Users there, who was just desperately looking for an opportunity to reload, and all of a sudden you got 3 guys on top of you, all trying to shoot your brains out, which eventually they succeeded in doing. And now Gamma takes the early lead, and MnM will head back up to their original site.
It was very well measured there by Gamma. They took a perfect read on where everybody was. They decided to wait for the perfect moment to push. They had an idea on the angle that was being held, and then from that point onwards just went, this is where we're going. This is what we're going to be able to do and how we're going to close it down, and they did it perfectly. It was very much step-for-step lockdown, and I think that's one of the things that we saw them grow in confidence on the second map. They started to believe in themselves a little bit more, and well, this is the evidence there. This is them working on that information game that has been exceptional since Consulate.
Well, so far, this is the, I can't believe I'm saying this, but the only site that MnM have actually been able to defend here on Theme Park so far. They have once again decided to bring the Mirror. They have once again decided to bring the Goyo. They were... I want to say they were flushed out position relatively quickly before, but the operative word there is relative. That doesn't necessarily mean they were flushed out of position within like the first 30 seconds. It just means it wasn't pushed to the very ends and the very limits. Gamma didn't have any opportunity to come in and make any kind of plant. We know that they're an objective-focused team. They like to rush in for plants where they can. They didn't have any chance to do that before. They were put in such a man disadvantage because of the incredibly aggressive gunfight that ensued at the end of the round. The question is that going to repeat and happen once again this time round, given the success that Gamma have seen on the last 2?
Well, MnM, you got to step up and find some of the aggression, the passion that you had before on this side. It was a pretty well-calculated lockdown, but I guess the lessons have been learned by Gamma, and they've been able to really capitalize upon the destruction that they can put down. Instant approach as they set themselves up for a very different take that they started on last time. It was down beneath, and they locked off, obviously, Dragon Stairs and locked off those rotation possibilities, but then started to suffer as they actually tried to get in. Then it became a very claustrophobic atmosphere here. Nath is set up very aggressively towards the cafe walk out there, and the explosions pop from the hatch as it gets open above, and that's going to force him back inside the site. But otherwise, you know, they're still just weighing up on this eastern front.
You don't want to be risking your life too much, and it's not as if there's really anyone from Gamma around that would have caught Nath out in that position, but we don't know to what extent he knows that. But as you say, Gamma moving in from the east, still being pretty thorough on the drones, as about half the round has already gone down. Now, as expected, the Mirror is still there. I can't imagine they thought it would be any different. That did get forced out of Vault, not Closet, pretty early and took place on the Mirror window last time. But Gamma, all currently pent up in initiation and waiting. Looks like they're going to be moving in together, and there's the opening.
Well, and there's the closing, and there's another lockdown. Fonkers swings round, is able to find his first of the round, but Dats is able to lock down another and keep the cover going. Leonski, the pace of these trades is living up to the high expectations of both these teams, and for the first time we find ourselves in a little bit of dead silence. Usus sitting just above, waiting for panics to arrive. Fonkers pops the drone instantly, and we find ourselves in a bit of a standoff. There is obviously the man disadvantage fall into the favor here of MnM, but they might not know how close they are to having panics just beneath. Their C4 could be monumental here. Ripped, torn, and blown over the top, but Fonkers is the swing that actually gets it, and Panics goes down to the C4. Potentially, no, it's Fonkers who's thirsty for more. Pushes himself, dug in just around the corner. A Deepek who's stuck in a rotation that he's a little bit too big for. And he's actually just going to pull himself back into the break room. 20 seconds, 2 kills, and Fonkers on a sliver of health. Going to pop around the canister and try to stun one, but they know exactly where he is, and they're watching it. No, you can't get through there. You've already tried. You've already failed. And unfortunately, with only 10 seconds, it looks like you might just stack onto the failure. One pops from one side, but it's the other that locks it, and MnM bring themselves back level.
Oh, if only you were small enough to get in through the rotation. I like the fact that Gamma decided to go for something different. They knew how heavily MnM were holding on to Office, and they wanted to avoid that. So they came in down through the more southern side of the top floor of the map, coming in through initiation and waiting, opening up the wall and pushing straight through. But the problem is they reached a stalemate when they got to the point that all of the available kills on both sides had been taken. And then suddenly you have to play a lot more cautiously, a lot more tentatively. We found that Zafir got stuck in break room with no real opportunity to try and take any other angles. And the thing is, there's so many soft walls around there that with more information, players on either side could have taken kills that they didn't. But it's very easy as the observer to turn around and say, well, I know that that player is there. And that makes it very hard to make those decisions, especially when you know a crossfire can be held onto you. And in the end, it led to the demise of that final player of Gamma. And that evens things out once again. But it should, at the very least, make MnM feel confident that despite the fact that they lost their other 2 maps in the cycle, they know that there is a defense they can hold. The difference is if those are the only 2 defenses that you can hold, on a map like Theme Park, that's not good enough.
2-2. MnM, you're at least able to pull yourself back close to level, but you've only done it on one site. You've got to try and spread your wings if you want to have a little bit more success now, and otherwise try and look off to get the 4-2 split and keep yourself in line with a standard Theme Park. 3-3, and I think Gamma, with the pace that they've been able to apply, might be sitting pretty on their defensive half, but they want to start to try and apply this pressure very quickly. Users creeping around the top of Dragon Stairs and waiting for somebody almost instantly, hoping to take them by surprise. As I've said, though, the drone game has been exceptional. The information game is not going to slow down at any moment yet. Still more hatches, still more pop, and still more pressure as he tries to swing to a little bit more safety. Here's the door go on his left shoulder. Here's the drone come through too. Nath is able to pop it, and it keeps him in a bit of surprise. Along Nitro goes an Astro!
Nice one.
Bang! You are removed.
Not the first time today that we've seen users getting a beautiful C4. If you remember back to Cafe when he got the 2K onto, I believe, New Hatch. So it's certainly something that Gamma shouldn't be unaware of. They did get a kill back in return, though, as Fonkers has been taken off the board, but not quite such spectacular fashion. So there's still a hint of pride that means that MnM take the advantage in that. But as for the man advantage, it's all even, and Gamma still are yet to move in with their 4 players.
Now then, how can you make this work? You've taken care of Fonkers, but you still have work to be done, and you did it very well last time. It started with the push up the yellow stairs, forcing them away from that mirror window, forcing them to an uncomfortable situation as you pushed aggressively towards a vault as well and just dug the diffuser in. The plant was the key, and this time Jonker's going to make sure that they don't fall for it. But look at Gamma. They're going for a big rotation over the top. They've realized without Astro, they don't really have the same ability to get through, potentially, that they wanted to before, so they've opted to go for this, the Cafe take instead. Jonker's rotated, pulled back, and uses his dug inside vault. For now, they have no rush and nowhere else they need to go, so it's the pressure on Jonker that's going to be the start of all this. The Cafe door is opened. They know that they're peering inside.
And he's rotating round into Arcade. You've also got Nave nearby as well, but with these players coming into Break Room, he too could get caught out from behind. Users holding office, so there's still players all around, and about 30 seconds remaining. This puts pressure onto Gamma. They're opening up the rotate for themselves, but they're going to come face to face with Nave's shotgun, but he gets traded straight out as Panics, who remains on fire, or maybe not so much, as he too falls. Users begins to move forward, and now Deepek is just looking to hold down the yellow corridor.
Vice trying and stuck in behind the mirror window, but it's Deepek that gets cut down by the reverse hold that MnM opted for. They read that the push was coming from the opposite side, and Usus, well, he was around that area for the whole round. To be fair, opened with a C4 and ended with a double. And what a round for them to be able to pull themselves back in. Now, one more defense is all they've got under their belt, and one more opportunity to put themselves with a decent 2-round buffer. As I said before, though, 3-3 for me still heralds slightly negative possibilities and means they've got to step up massively for their attack, which otherwise today hasn't really hit the mark.
No, I can't say it really has on either side, but MnM has definitely stood out for that it is a significant weakness of theirs. And as you say, because of the nature of the scoreline, we can kind of forgive any of the weaknesses there that Gamma have faced today, because this is still an admirable effort from them on their attacking half so far. Now, I spoke before about how here on Lab, there are kind of a couple of options that you can go for, the riskiest of which is to go in for the push. They didn't opt for that last time. Instead, they came in through maintenance. They opened up the wall into Throne, which I believe is where Yonka was playing on Castle before, and eventually they managed to make it through and they won that round. That was back in round 3. Now, MnM did just right the wrongs of the past as they took an initiation defense, something which they couldn't successfully do in round 2. So the question is, can they do that this time? Can they adapt and improve enough that they can take the lab defense for themselves as well?
I guess that's the step up now. Gamma have been pretty good in terms of getting the control, and there, even then, their system of trades seemed still pretty continuous, still very fluid, and still very controlled. It was just obviously falling away to the man who got the triple kill in Useless. And I guess that's one of the things about MnM. You never really know who's going to step up. You never really know who's going to try and fly that flaming marshmallow flag and lead them to a little bit more development of a victory. Late reinforcements go up as they get an idea of where the push is coming from. Yonka and Usus took a bit of a risk there, and I guess it's rewarded.
I was going to make a comment about how you shouldn't reinforce next to people, but it's not quite as important anymore.
No, it's
reinforcement
fine now.
pools are a thing. Yeah, it's not so much a big deal. It's an antiquated etiquette. But regardless, it was teamwork. But yeah, it was a risk. It wasn't didn't actually turn out to be too bad. And right now, it's eerily quiet as Gamma are still assessing their options, and we near the halfway point. Astro knows he's potentially going to be giving away his location by opening up this window, but for now, he's looking safe.
And that's it. Safe is one thing, but it's a little bit of a slower pace here for Gamma. However, that's only a statement because their information game is their drive, and we've seen them play slow and then suddenly go, okay, let's go, and lock down the attack and suddenly pick apart whatever MnM is setting up. So they're still calculating, still running the numbers, running the math, and seeing if they can not run it back as to how it was before. Panics and Astro both pop in, trying to look at different angles and different firefights. Hopping over your friend's active firefight's a dangerous game, but you survive for now. It's Yonka that gets one and Avish gets another. The diffuser's dropped and they're going to have to rotate around and try and recollect under a very dangerous window as he swaps over and swings around towards Nafe, who still has a C4 in pocket. 2. Oh no, the diffuser's inside. They went for something very bold, and that's put them in a very tricky situation.
Yeah, look at the position that Fonkers was in, looking directly in through the rotate. So that means that Nave can still stick in the direction that he is facing as well, over towards where Panics may be. Makes it very hard right now for Gamma to have the opportunity to collect that diffuser, especially as we're under 30 seconds now. Deepek's location will be given away, but it'll be Panics the next one to go down as Nave the Valkyrie finally gets that kill. Yonka as well. Right now, it looks like it's all going to fall into MnM's favor.
Yeah, and with only 15 seconds, how much can you do? Double A is able to get at least one, but it's instantly battled back, and there's Dats for 2 is the split. Pulling it back from 2-1 down, well, it's a moment that can give them a bit of momentum, and momentum last time led to a storm as they tied so many rounds in a row. Can they replicate the magic that they had on the first map? Or are we about to see a Gamma defense that's more akin to the Consulate that was over before you could blink?
That fear of the unknown is certainly going to be weighing on their minds. We've spoken about it so many times, and I almost feel like a broken record, but in a game this important, you have to remember, this is not even just about, oh yeah, one of these teams will get the opportunity to get into EUL. Because remember, both teams that make it into the finals will have that opportunity. Whoever comes first, they will be directly promoted into EUL. Whoever comes second will be playing for the relegation spot that Rogue currently sit in. That means that whoever wins this game automatically will have an opportunity to make it into EUL. But these are two teams with such history, so much history here in Europe, and have fought to make it to tier 1 in the past and fallen at the most important hurdle. They are back here right now. They are at that most important hurdle, and only one of them can make it over. This all comes down to this final half on this final map of this final best of 3 here in the semi-finals, because it has been so back and forth.
Let's see who is the one that is able to take the cake, take the celebration, and, well, unfortunately not take a breather, because you've still got a lot of work ahead of you as your eyes are on your opponents that are set before you, already watching very fervently Kavana. Now, Gamma, as I said before, this is your possibility and chance to lock it out and lock it down, and it will have to start with some confidence, because if you can break back MnM's momentum, that's a big blow to a team that often swings around it. Gamma is, to be fair, a momentum-based team too. They can sometimes get themselves in their own heads and get tilted their own decisions, but we've seen some of the players like Panics step up bigger than they've ever been able to before this season, so it bodes a little bit well for them. MnM, your attacks so far have been a little bit slow and steady, and this is apparently a similar par for the course. Droning across Cafe and making sure you have the eyes and ideas in as you enter underneath by the looks of it. Creeping around Drug Lab and potentially going to take over the arcade floor. You swing around, drop the camera, and they don't have eyes in the sky anymore, but with Deepak playing that and keeping more of an acute awareness, well, it's still in no way safe.
They're staying very close together, a lot of these members of MnM. They want to ensure that in these situations, if they are to be caught out, they can always win on the refrag, which is something, we spoke about it earlier, has been of major importance in this matchup particularly. Deepak does manage to get one drone, but he couldn't get the first, not wanting to stand out too much out of position and potentially get caught. Now, we are a decent chunk into the round, and a lot of MnM are still sitting outside. It's making Gamma feel restless, but MnM want to be thorough.
This is the worry, though, of the MnM's attacks that we've seen so far. Things are left a little bit too late, but they're not trying to make it happen again. Panics gets used as Dats as the big firefight on the arcade stairs. Nath gets one more and a shield's popped inside. Gamma looking a bit lost and a bit restless, but Astro is the one that puts them to space before he's blown that way himself. Ash picked back up on the stairs to keep them in a 3 versus 2 with 50 seconds. So many bodies fell in that very quick window, and Panics is looking to apply more pressure. He's stepping up in a big way, and Leonsky's doing the same, takes care of Fonkers inside the approach of the site. Everything is falling around the arcade cabinets, but there's one loose body around the corridor at the top of Yellow Stairs 2. The Selmas pop off from Yonka, opens up the angles towards the site itself. Going to make Cafe a little bit more locked in, but oh no, it's played against the mute jam that's stopping any approach here, and they're going to have to try and force their way in with guns alone. Dat's on the swing, but he's very low health. He knows the pressure has to come. It's the first swing that comes to Yonka, though. They double up and double in as they careen their way towards the final body. The rotation is attempted, but he goes back against it. The C4 to the back of the chassis doesn't catch him. That could have defined the round, but instead it's going to have to be the clutch. Goes in behind, and Ash doesn't hear it. Oh no!
Panics!
MnM, things fall apart, but Panics yet again! You step up, stand in, and make your mark.
That is not the first clutch from Panics that we have seen today. And Fluke, at this point, I am beginning to believe that it is not going to be the last either. This man has showed up in this series, knowing what is riding on it and knowing exactly what he can do. And you know what? I love it. It's fantastic to see. In the moments where it felt like Gamma could have let that one slip, he came in to ensure it did not.
4-3. MnM, and a round slips through, and it's just misplayed moments. Obviously, you wonder what was heard by the ears of the injured Ashe at that point, and unfortunately it wasn't enough. As Panics was able to slip around the back, and again, pitch-perfect play there from somebody who's really had a bit of a rocky time. If there's a moment to show up, and if there's a moment to win yourself fame and acclaim in the hearts of Benelux, well, this is it right now.
Sorry to interrupt. I just want to address Easy, our wonderful observer. Can you just show us split a second, Easy? I just want to ensure
there it is, Des.
That it's not for the audience. I trust that you know where split is, but just because Derry's on the desk. There we go. Easy showed us right in the middle. It's that nice little blue thin corridor. Some people call it blue. A lot of people call it split.
Des.
And Derry learned that this week.
Derry learned that. Does Jess know that he showered that? Because I feel like she'd be mad at him for that.
I feel like it's probably better she never finds out.
Yeah. We did a big charity tournament. I was dressed as a catgirl maid. You were dressed as a cow. And we raised a lot of money for kids' hospitals.
We had a great time.
We had a great time. And Derry played in a comp game of Siege. But for now, there's a more important comp game of Siege going on, you could say, and you will say, because it's true. It's battling for not only, obviously, taking your way to the EU Major and giving yourself still a bit of hope at getting in, but you've got to realize that that's solidifying a career. That's you taking yourself up, forcing and fighting and earning your own promotion towards the successive season and setup. We talked about this at the beginning of the day. What do you get for getting into Pro League? And it's obviously not just the prize pool. It's not just what you take from this tournament, but it's the possibility of the revenue share. It's the possibility of getting your skins in the game, and it's the long time that you have that locked in. It's a long time until you'll get this chance again. This means everything for 10 players that need to dictate their future for the next 12 months, and it comes down to the next 3 or 4 rounds.
We've seen the dreams of teams who could have feasibly qualified be dashed, not just today, but so far throughout the competition. Losing Penta was something that many did not expect to happen, and yet it did, and it's going to happen to one of these teams. And right now it's Gamma who are on the back foot, and they are just waiting for MnM to move on in as the floor above Lab is getting opened. Fonka's going crazy with the Caber, and Panic's down below just looking for his prey. He can't quite catch it. Instead, he takes a decent amount of damage.
Now is looking with the impact to still potentially cause some trouble above, but Nath wants to shut this off sooner rather than later. Drops the mute jam, and that's going to allow this drone to roll in, roll up, and potentially roll through Panics. It's misdroned, though! Turns the wrong way, and Panics, yet again, strikes with a ferocity and a game sense that we have not seen for a long time.
Oh,
now,
so cheeky.
It's battled back. Yonka locks it off, but the loss there. You've lost your Ashe, you've lost your Zafia, you've lost your IGL team captain, Nath. Oh, it's a tough push now.
Yeah, and 20 seconds remaining as well. There's barely any time for MnM to do anything with, and Fonka's just opens up the soft wall, but in comes the C4. It narrowly misses him, but this is still going to be a tough task.
Well, that's a massive cacophony of death that's happened in Split. They're in a 1 versus 1, but he's gone for the kill, and he was too far out. Everything fell on the doorways, and so has the lead that MnM had etched out before 4-4. Gamma have taken their 2 first defenses. They've done better than MnM opened up their defensive half with, and, well, it's down to this, the offsite, the tertiary, the tough place to play, and the third round that if it starts to swing the way of Gamma, you've got a couple of concerns for the momentum of MnM.
Oh man, I mean, I'm feeling energized. I'm like, people can't see, but I'm like pacing. It's evened out. It's so close. It's not even like any of us can definitively look at this right now and say this is the way it is going to go. Yeah, sure, right now on this half, it really looks like it's swinging in Gamma's favor, and I don't know if that momentum is going to shift. Knowing what we know about MnM's performance on the attack and how Gamma have been doing as well, but we also know that this is a map that MnM have really done well on in the past too, and they could still bring it back. They have what it takes. We've seen it from this team, but are they going to show that to us right now? Well, we will eventually find out, but the next site is going to be Initiation Office, and Gamma are going to be doing exactly what MnM did by bringing a mirror, but they've also brought a rook instead, which isn't something that we saw from MnM.
Now, obviously, when we're talking about offsites and possibilities and where teams like to play, MnM do not like Throne, even though it can be a strong site, and we've just seen a victory fall in the way of Gamma. So this is one where you still expect them to have some lockdown and have some idea of how to push and how to take it. The Mirror's played in a similar way as to before, but instead they've opted for this stronger Cafe idea. They assume the push is going to come from the Cafe side, and they're going to make sure that they've got this angle, this longitude towards the hold. Slightly different approach, but I guess success is built upon adaptation. And we need to see if MnM can adapt to what Gamma is putting down. Pings are consistent, and Fonka's approaches the hatch Leonski. Dramatically running underneath it, but isn't caught. Survives and thrives as he digs behind his window by the vault.
Well, here are the air jabs to try and shunt the aggression, that Gamma could start to press onto MnM as they come in, and Usus and Jonka both find themselves inside. I keep saying Jonka, I mean Yonka. I'm very sorry. It's because, you know, you got like players like Junus as well, and you just never know whether to say a J or a Y. It's one of those hard things. But anyway... yes, they placed the air jabs that's going to stop Gamma from pushing on forward, but they look pretty steadfast in the way that they want to hold this and having a lot of that focus on Office. There's a Vulcan shield, and Vonkus is going to make his way back towards the rest of his team.
A bomb has been located.
Now it's slow and steady back again from MnM. They tried to go with a lot of push pace before, but it unfortunately led to a lack of success. Now then, can they replicate that? Yonka 11-4 is a big driving force right now. As we said before, all the players of MnM have habits of stepping up, and Panic's a player who's stepped beyond what he's been able to do before. Is almost the first off the board here as he's forced slightly out of the corners of Initiation Room and more dug into an uncomfortable situation on the opposite side of the split. Vaish is taken care of first. All the way from deep, play dangerous games, win dangerous prizes is the lesson learnt. Through a bullet through the skull across 3 rooms, and now it's Astro who needs to step up and see if he can swing against the initiation door, which is the default plant. Default push actually goes opposite, takes care of Usus before returning to the long firefight towards the computers. Takes that too, because why not?
Is he going to be able to get a third as well? Yes, he is. There's Fonkas to be going down, and as he gets flashed out, he's still looking for more. The smokers come out, and he's right next to one of those players, but it is Tebi Astro to fall. Panics as well. That means Yonka can start going in for the plant, and the C4 getting ready from Leonski doesn't quite catch anyone. He goes back in. Nath, he's going down too. MnM just can't quite catch this break. They go in once again, but it's not hard for Deepek to end his life. Complete backwards and forwards there, and the aggression so much from these two teams finally falls the way of Gamma.
It's so frequently down to time, so frequently down to the trade game of Gamma that's been so consistent all throughout the day. Whether they're having success stories or nightmare moments, either way, what they have had is a great congealing of utility, a great idea of ability. The thread that sews each of the players together in the sightlines has seemingly always been one step consistent, one step ahead for a lot of the time of MnM, who haven't quite been able to cut the thread at the right space. Every time they seem to get rid of the head of the Hydra, another 2 appear, and unfortunately they shout in, languages that MnM can't quite comprehend right now.
Well, they're British, so that's probably most, because we don't have very good language education here.
I wanted to... The thing is... I tried to remember the languages spoken on the team, but I'm not quite clever as Milosh. Milosh would have said that cast line in their languages.
In all of them at once.
He would have gone through every single spoken language that Gamma players have.
Milosh, it could be an SVO language or an SOV language, and Milosh would still find a way to do it in both.
At the same time. Like, throat singing.
That's got nothing. It's got nothing to do with
They
what
do
I was.
two tones at the same time. It's impressive. Shut up! I saw a YouTube video on it. Avaish saw a YouTube video on how to open up little angles and bullet holes towards the cafe approach. Play yourself up the banister and lean in towards what is working so well for you, which is shutting down MnM's momentum. 3 rounds in a row. You make it 4. You put yourself on map point. Sure, they're still only 1 step behind. Sure. You've been in a position where you've been on 5 rounds and things have fallen apart from better seats before. Sure, it's not quite over yet, but rest assured, Gamma fans and players, they are currently swinging heavily and heftily with momentum in their favor. Theme Park and the arcade cabinets were the game they played last time, and MnM are looking to potentially extend a little bit more towards the yellow stairs first as they start their careen and their approach in drug again.
I love your rap, it really got me going. And maybe it'll really get MnM going, and it will. Fonker's securing himself the first kill of the round and bringing down Astro, who caused such a pain for the team in that last one.
Now then, Panics waits for more pressure to start to apply itself. They've been able to do what was, as I said before, seemingly undoable in a lot of situations. Take a life of Gamma and not suffer an intense instant firefight back against them. They've left the diffuser cold for now outside the cafe entrance as they realize they've got to do some body work around the rest of the map. And they don't want to put themselves into an uncomfortable situation because so far it's been hard to gauge who's been popping off. 2 drones swing round and Nath swings a Vaish, takes him out of the situation. As I said, yellow stairs was where they wanted to apply a bit of pressure before as it went a little bit untested earlier on and everything started to fall and collapse in. The swing comes from Panics, the man who popped off before. Here's the pressure, here's a C4, but here's a mistimed play. A grenade gets Deepek in the meantime, and 5-1. MnM, you needed this more than anything, and Leonsky digs himself into a corner behind a train. It's not a tractor hap, it's a train, and it's unfortunately not really having any movement and momentum right now. Leonsky swings for a drone, swings for a hope. They're sure where he is though, and MnM are flawless. Well, that was needed.
Flawless, and once again bringing it back to an even scoreline. We get no closer to figuring out who it is that is going to take this. A really difficult position, I have to say, that Panics found himself in, being droned out on the arcade stairs, yet he couldn't push forward, knowing that there was someone right outside on the balcony. Found himself getting stunned out. Easy to completely ambush him in that scenario. MnM played it a lot more methodically in that they ensured that they were together and that they could collapse in all at once. And I mean, when you get to the end point like that, it's just Leonsky behind the... Did Hap call it a tractor?
Yes, he called it a tractor.
Okay. I see. Well,
which is on a different map. Entirely. That's a Hereford call.
Oh yeah, that map that's in the map pool.
The map that everybody loves. Which is maybe why Hap got confused. Maybe he also has just never seen a farm before, but it's definitely a train. And unfortunately, or as Dev would put it, choo-choo, unfortunately it didn't offer the safety and confidence solidity that a long train ride can. It only offered the prospect of death as it pulled into the station. Unfortunately, weren't met at the station by anything other than the UK lads.
Some train rides over that. Wasn't there like a Bong Joon-ho movie about that or something?
SnowRunner, Snowpiercer.
Snowpiercer, is that what it is?
Great.
See,
movie.
I know some things about films. I've never seen it, but
was that Bong Joon?
Yes.
It was.
Thank you very much for verifying me. Well, either way.
I just wanted to clarify my South Korean cinema.
Okay. I mentioned, we are back on an even scoreline. And at this point, what maybe looked like a sprint for Gamma on our very first map, or at least the very half of the very first map, is very much going to be feeling like a marathon. As these two teams still find themselves at it after all this time. Now, Astro playing very aggressively. He got taken down early in that last round, but he will find himself retreating. And he doesn't want to get caught out, and his skills and prowess can be used elsewhere at a later date.
Now then, as they set themselves up and give over Dragon Stairs, it's a bit of pace, and I want to see what MnM can actually do with it, because so far, as we've said and seen, it's generally been Gamma's defenses to hold, and they've been able to hold themselves quite well. Dats is alone, isolated, and the two bodies of Gamma are trying to strike whilst they know he's weak. He's holding an angle and hoping to pick the first as they pepper their head up, but the pressure comes from the opposite side, and there it is. Astro locks down Dats, and the pair of them move through, but there's the pickup, and there's again another trade. That's why they move in doubles. And this is the game that we've said they've done so well, so continually, and so aggressively across the entire stretch and strayed of this map. The drones still work, and Panics is pushed back into the site, but he has done big bits and big work. You've lost your IQ, you've lost Dats. Hey, what? This is the same two names that were lost the last time they pushed this site.
Knowing the extent to which you should be flirting with the enemy outside of the site and when you should return home for a night in is a really important part of playing a successful roam. And that's something that Panic seems to understand right now as you said, he moved back, placing the goo mines out before it got to that point. But now Leonski has found himself being DBNO'd and finally finished off by users. That evens things out, and Fonkers from above can start to get rid of the wall denial that is preventing his team from moving in.
Steadily opening all the angles that they can and steadily forcing them into a less comfortable situation. They've done their reconnaissance and they're not going to try and just shove their way into sight with users holding the cross angle. Panics is going for a rotate, but it's Deepek that just swings round and gets the opener. There is a big cost. There's Panics yet again. Right place, right time. Right pepper of bullets there, but it's the swing round on the close man. Not sure how they didn't quite catch that, but they've still got to catch two more, and Panics isn't having any of it. Panics and Gamma find themselves the first team to broach the topic of we are taking this. But the study has shown it's not quite over yet.
And now Gamma Gaming are on match point of this entire best of three. They are one round away, and I do not know if that is going to be felt more by them right now than it is by MnM, because Gamma, they don't want to fall. You don't want to fall into the mentality where you assume it's over. You don't want to get into the you really got to win those mentality. But MnM know that it very much could be over for them in one round. This is where it gets really exciting. Now, we've just seen this 6-pick come out from Gamma. They're going to be bringing the Clash. We did see this get played all the way back on Cafe Dostoyevsky, but that was back in a land where Zofia was banned, whereas she can be played here. So you will have that available to you as some kind of counter, but this should allow Gamma to hold some kind of extended defense if that's what they decide to do, and make it incredibly hard for MnM to be able to come in. And I'm very intrigued to see how this is going to go for Gamma Gaming, and how this will play out, because I think if they are all together and in a position where they're playing around each other very closely, they could definitely win out a lot of the gunfights that are going to ensue.
Let's see how they adapt to themselves on this play space. As you said and pointed out, it's the first time we're bringing the Clash in this situation. The 6th pick and the bait and play is something that might stem and slow MnM. It works as the mobile mirror, and it works as something where, to be fair, where we've seen MnM work the worst is when they're slowed, when they're not quite sure and not quite confident. They find themselves struggling to even broach the topic of how do we get into the site and how do we get the grasp and the handle on gunners like Gamma. Leonski gives the game away, says, "Oh, hello, it's me, Clash. I wasn't allowed in the Muppet-themed event, which maybe that's a bit of a misstep, but here I am on the biggest stage, so who's really laughing now?"
Sure, well, either way, you can hear those ADSs being burned, MnM wasting no time ensuring of that, but there are the other two present in office, and that will help protect the shield behind which Deepek is playing. And you can see the way that they're spread out from north to south, which basically ensures whichever way that MnM decide that they want to push in, it's going to be incredibly difficult. And that's why you have the clash now where you don't so much have the shields, and there's her feet being pinged out by Dats present on the hatch.
Slow and steady, MnM, as you take your pace. 3 drones fervently working away behind the computers as you try to get the ping and the spot on the bodies that are on the door. There they are. Leonski's not wasting any time. The noticeable change here is there's nobody wide swinging it from deep. Last time we had 2 people take this firefight and the first lost. This time Clash is the door herself. She's saying you got to get through me if you want to try and mess up those guys over my shoulder. And they do. Fonkers takes them out. The pop on the shield is what blows them out, and that's a big loss with Panic playing it close to the wire here. Swings over the top. The C4's caught in mid-air. They are not waiting and not wasting any time. The drone is got, and Panics has to crawl to offer some sense of safety here. The mute is in a lot of danger, isolated inside the initiation, about to be initiated into hell at this point, but they're popping over the top of the computers and trying to make sure that the work that's done on them is theirs. But no! Fonkers with a second grenade and a second confirmation on a kill. Now is the time for the Finn to step up for the win, as he did once before on the day before, but this time ever more is what they want to push and pressure towards this initiation. Astro, a huge player from before, is the one caught in the middle, and he's waiting for this, but unfortunately waits no more, as Stats is the one that swings around, and Yonka too, blown and pushed towards the limit of Vice, cannot quite find it, hasn't found the medal and the mental on this map, and MnM, it is not over yet!
Desperately pushing into the smoke there, and it wasn't enough, and MnM, who just needed the desperate slivers of tenacity to hold on into overtime, managed to find it from within and push themselves into that position. And my god, Gamma will be feeling that, so close to securing themselves the spot in the finals, and now they have to fight through at least 2 more rounds to make it there. This is getting closer to the wire than I think anyone expected coming into this series, Fluke.
I'm losing my voice.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But you know what? Worth it. Worth it to watch this series go all the way, because with what we've seen from map 1 and map 2, we've seen 2 teams that desperately want this. 2 teams that in their own way deserve not only the possibility of getting there, but to be honest, being there as well. And unfortunately, as is the way in this game, you can only have one winner. Only one team is going to walk away with the chance of getting themselves into that top tier, the top echelon, the chance to butt heads with Kavana and get either the guaranteed journey or have a look at facing Rogue as their possibility of finding their way through. And for me, that is the picture that is both so beautiful to look at but so heartbreaking, is this isn't even the final step for these 2 teams, but you would be fine in understanding and having the impression that it was, because both these teams are putting everything on the line and the wire, and it's still not over yet.
Now, MnM start overtime on attack once again. We've noted that this is their weaker side of things. Ooh, that was incredibly close, and Fonkers will be bleeding out, but can probably be picked up by one of his teammates. I would have loved for that to have led to a death, not because I have a bias, but because I am an agent of chaos and think it would have been funny. Regardless, MnM are on their weaker half to start things off here in overtime. However, they've managed to push through to the point that overtime has been instigated. So there's no reason that we should believe that they can't make this happen. However, look at how separate they are. Actually, not quite as separate as I thought. But one of the things in the rounds that has worked for MnM on attack have been when they've played very close together, and they've all very much had one another's backs with very close proximity. If they don't lean into that here, I fear that maybe they won't be able to lean into the attack as a whole and won't be able to take it.
Steady approach MnM, as you know that you've been able to have some work done very recently, and as said and cited before, both these teams thrive in the energy of momentum that can really carry you through. Fonkers, the double kill with grenades and a huge bit of utility is going to make sure that it gets used and burnt before he finds his life taken by Gamma that already tried to lean into the aggression. Panics, dances on the doorway, drops a drone and looks towards the hatch down below, has the opening here. And if Fonkers doesn't play this properly and carefully, might find his trip much quicker because it takes way less bullets to take care of you when you've already been riddled by them before.
Still got to play it patient. Just about a minute remaining. There's that really annoying hello there sound cue that we spoke about earlier, but Leonski opens things up onto Nave. So hello there, goodbye there, Zafir. You can't say that annoying line anymore. And that's not a good start for MnM, who are looking to hold on so fervently, and Deepek securing a second. There's your Zafir and your Ash. We've seen this before, and it significantly hinders them. Panix could be about to catch a kill for himself, but no! Taken down in his own right. Gamma still holding on to the advantage, though.
Angles of the lockdown right now. It's a 4 versus 2 situation, and the defense has been able to find itself some of the setup that it had before, but there's the pressure, there's Yonka, there's Astro. Two big players that have met metal a lot, and now it's one more trip to this match point. One more dance around series point, and one more worrying moment for MnM to try to lock themselves in solidly. Had a good swing with a 4-2 split on their defenses before, but that was a long, long time ago.
Look, there is only one site that MnM won the defense on twice, and that is the site that they are heading to right now. Bunk and Take Care. Of all the places they went, Bunk, Initiation, and Lab, they did not touch Throne Room. This is the only one that they consistently won. It makes a lot of sense that they are returning here, knowing full well what is riding on this. Once again, we find ourselves on overtime match point. I suspect that they will be setting up a defense very similar to what we saw before with the mirror window present in Office. They had another one facing into Cafe. You have Dats present in Vault behind the Vulcan shield, and he can move around via the scaffolding to play on that mirror window should he need to. At the very least, we saw that happen in round 1. He wasn't really moved out of Vault until very late in the second time they visited, if I remember correctly. But that could be something that Gamma lean into, knowing full well how it is that MnM are going to set up. But it hasn't failed them so far. So does it really matter?
The extension and possibility and concern here could be played against Vaish, a player who hasn't really had an impact on the defenses, and I believe got almost all of their kills, if not all of them, on their attacks before playing the role of Kali, digging something in. And when they've been able to have the meteoric impact that they slew straight into the face in the camp of MnM across map 1 and map 2, regardless of result, they were a big problem. And here, they've been a bit, unfortunately, lacking in the structure of being able to put that pressure. They might be able to find something else here, some more of a swing into this long, long angle. They're going to open to Kareen and cut this site in half. The drones come towards the Goyo at first, as he's well aware that he is going to be the first tip and push of this pressure. There's the big shots that open the hatches for the angles over on the top. Gamma are great at mid-round and late-round adaptations. They're setting themselves up some options early.
Now, Astro, I think, is going to be a really key player in this. We've seen him get taken down early a couple of times, but in the round where he's been allowed to stand, they've been the ones where we have seen multi-kills come out, and in particularly impactful and important moments. Now, Gamma, if they can overwhelm these players over towards yellow, then this could be it. Users particularly could be a high-value target, and especially his Black Eyes will be, as that's the reason for bringing Panix along on the IQ. Here is things to start off to try and gain control of Office, but Nape is still staying nearby.
Hatch has fallen, the shield is gone, and there goes Vault as Usus goes for a rotation. Last time we saw the pressure pushed around yellow stairs, and that's where things started to capitalize for Gamma. This time they haven't quite got the same lock off, and Avaish is looking for the head of Jonker, the big blow and force that's been pretty consistent for MnM across this map. What a time to show up and what a moment for them to be able to set themselves up. Gamma, they approach with aplomb as they lock themselves off. The drones herald the oncoming hoofs of war and destruction and decimation that the guns of Gamma want to offer, but it's slow and steady for now. They know this first one's important and it falls to Astro. The trade comes in. Nath instantly shuts it down, but the shield goes. Users 2 finds Panics in the meantime. That's the IQ and the Ash gone. They still have a huge amount of utility and they're going to make sure they capitalize on it fast. The chassis is the only thing keeping the man alive, but it takes care of Deepek, who can pick themselves back up. You cannot withstand a C4. Leonsky is able to shut down Nath, and there's another one. The man was dead in the doorway, holding the angle and smoking themselves. It's someone with a flicker of health and someone with only a little bit more as they try and push against Yonka and Users, 2 big players that have been able to step up so far. Creeping around the back stairs, they might go uncontested here, and they somehow find a frag. It's a 2 versus 1. Yonka has been the force to be reckoned with. The C4 is all in. Hey, this situation, we've seen it once before. It was the other way around. The C4 doesn't quite catch it. It's shot out of the air, but there it is, Yonka! Unbelievable swing. The second time the clutch has gone down behind the train. We are going all the way for the second time.
Absolutely no way he just managed to keep them in the game. I honestly thought we were about to see Gamma Gaming push themselves through into the finals, despite the fact that for a decent chunk of that round, it looked like MnM were just gunning them down. They turned it around. It was all on Yonka, and he did it. And now, as far as this game can possibly go into overtime is where we will be seeing it. And I have no clue what to expect at this point. This is hard for MnM, knowing they have to do this on the attack, but at the same time, they've pushed through hardship in not just this map, but this series completely. They've done the 7-round sweep already. They've had the dominant map. They've done everything. They've pushed through rounds that shouldn't have been theirs. They have to know in themselves that they can do this, otherwise this is over.
I could not tell you the last time a game has got my heart racing this much.
Oh, I know. I was going to say to you, remember back when we were in Paris and you and I were casting the South Asia Grand Finals?
Yeah.
Do you remember how great it was because we had aircon and we weren't dying and sweating because of like...
I feel so bad for my neighbors.
Adrenaline heats you up.
Yeah, I feel so bad for my neighbors right now.
I don't care about my neighbors. That's their problem, not mine.
I'll buy them some sweets or something. It's Halloween. 7-7. What a joy, what a pleasure, and what an honor it has been to be able to cast this game. And it's still not over yet, but all those eyes peeled to the screens, it cannot go any further than this round. And at this point, I am joyous to sit back and watch and just see how these 10 players, as I've said before, all of them throughout the series, maybe not this map in particular, but all of them have been able to be a big force in this battle between, I guess, what is the difference of your career, your future, and your goals, where you can go, moves over a C4. Fonka's put pace to Deepek and doesn't quite catch them, survives as they head their way into initiation, droning themselves ahead, looking for the first kill through the soft wall, and Panics might be the culprit here as they catch themselves. More peppering, more bullets, and Panics just gets out of there, realizes you cannot be the first to fall. Fonka's is applying pace as they very quickly clear the top.
Gamma with the very extended hole, potentially doing something that we saw before, and that is knowing all too well when you should be making those rotations back. Panics has been such a notable player today, and dancing around the geography of this map very well has put him very much in that position. Still all 10 members of this game remaining as we head into the final half, and MnM still have a lot of their presence upstairs, applying pressure down below with the open floors holding into barrels. Now, Panics present here in lab. He's going to have that pressure himself, not just vertically, but also laterally. And this is where he could get caught out, and he does. Nath getting the first kill.
And it's down on Panic's a player who has been so consistent in taking this site and locking it down. The movements he made before were the difference maker towards Gamma being able to lock it off. They're looking for the quick place pressure here onto the stairs. They're going for the same plan they've played before over and over again, but they want to try and make it stick. Users watching the roam, trying to catch the body that's on the far opposite side of the site right now. They haven't been able to get into the wall. It's still heavy, still electrified, and still a problem. Deepek is on split, applying as much pressure as they can. Nafe saw the shoulder of a Valkyrie who might not know it. The bullets go through, but they only slightly catch the side as the wall starts to fall on the opposite side. Barbs is popping open, drones working, and Zping's coming in pretty fervently. 20 seconds, and Leonski separates Users from his body, but Nate finds Astro, and Split is under their control. They're looking for the approach. Leonski's covering it, and the diffuser goes cold. Jumped in the corner, the trade comes through on Split. The push is a 2 versus 2. Sticking the diffuser, it comes down to a cover that's been so back and forth through both teams. Can they make it? And they do, for the first time in a very long time, a post plant. Gamma creeping their way up towards the backside of the site. If they've made this through, they've popped the bullets, they've given the game away now. They've put even more down. They are completely isolated in the middle of the zone. They're stuck on the island like the UK do. A 2 versus 1. The Finn gets 1. The trade comes through. Vaish, a player who has not had the best impact on this map, finds one more. It is a Vaish versus Nath, cat and mouse, as they try and lock down this final moment. 1 kill to dictate who finds their way forward onto the EU Major. The pings are there. The pop-up is there too. Nath pulls away. 8 seconds. The swing is there. He just has to put it. They've taken it. MnM.
No.
They push through.
No.
GG's across the board. All 10 deserve it. Only 5 can take it. Take a bow.
I am absolutely shaking after that round, and I suspect all of these players are as well. The second it got into the 2 versus 2, and you could see the fear in all of these players, the quick peeks, the desperation, the knowledge that your life could be on the line, and not just your life, but your career in Tier 1 as this team moves on into the finals. What an absolutely incredible way to end a very competitive best of 3 that was just an emotional roller coaster backwards and forwards.
You want both teams. I'm physically shaking.
I am shaking as well.
That game, it was insane. It was everything you want from an amazing game of Siege. It was such a fight, such a light. It's so tough that one of these two teams has to lose it. I'm beyond words. I'm going to throw it to the desk. They have good words. They'll use them. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for the players. Thank you to Gio. Hey, let's throw it to those nerds.
Let's do it.
Thanks so much, guys. Yeah, I gotta